We are live. Welcome to another episode of the Press Box. I'm your host, J-Rob. First things first, I got to introduce some of the usual suspects that are usually up here with us. Random, Riddell, Bama. Obviously, I know his injury. He's on bed rest. My man Bama, no knees. And early here, as always, new to the team, new to the panel today. Some of you guys may know him from Nerd Sesh. He's in the building. Carson, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. Trent is in the building as well. We got a jam-packed episode. I'm really excited to touch on a lot of topics. Really excited to hear, Carson, and some of your thoughts as a new face on the show. And with that being said, first things first, fellas, how are y'all doing today? Is everybody doing well?
I'm doing all right. A lot of reflection from yesterday. Me and J-Rod went at it yesterday about the San Francisco 49ers, and of course, we're probably about to go at it again. So let's go.
Definitely heated. Honestly, yeah, it's good, bro. Even though we talking football here, basketball back. This is the best season of the year, NBA and NFL, bro. Come on now, what are we talking about? This is great sports.
Yeah. All right, let's tap into our first topic then. Let's get it. Let's just get it right into it. So, latest power rankings by Pro Football Talk were released. Right now, they have the Kansas City Chiefs as the top team in the NFL heading into Week 8. Obviously, we know with power rankings, they tend to move up and down. But I don't think any of us would have thought that. I don't think anybody would have saw the Chiefs as being the number one team at this point, just the way it kind of looks to start the year. But now, with that being the top team in the league, I guess this does pose the conversation, and I want to hear your opinions on this. Do y'all think the Chiefs are officially the number one team in the league at this point?
I would say the Eagles are the best team. If they play today, I think the Eagles would win. I understand the Chiefs' defense is good. The Chiefs' wide receiving core, we still have plenty of questions about. We're still waiting for somebody to emerge. And obviously, we've already kind of seen how they look without Travis Kelce. I understand that the first game of the season they had a lot of drops, but we still need a kind of reliable, dependable receiver. It says something that they went to the Jets and got McCole Hardman back after letting him go, and that's maybe, and immediately he had an impact in the game on Sunday. So the Chiefs, the Chiefs receiving core, I think, is what puts them down. Mind you, these are still tier 1 teams, but the Eagles have the slight edge over the Chiefs.
I don't think any team has a huge gap. I don't think any team has a huge gap this year in the NFL. There's just so many teams. I think KC is in that bunch with the Eagles. You want to throw in the fraud Niners in there, we can throw them in too. It's fine. Even the Dolphins, they'll be in the mix. So I think there's just so many teams who have a chance here. There's no one definitive team. So if you want to put KC at one, it's fine. But if you want to put the Eagles, there's another team. I think that's perfectly fine too.
Nah, for me, I got the Chiefs number one. It's crazy that the only question really is the receiving core in the passing game. That's the question of the Chiefs. That kind of tells you a lot. The running game has been good with Pacheco. I guess they decided, hey, Edwards-Helaire will get some touches. McKinnon, we already know, third down back, receiving back, really good. Travis Kelce, hey, man, he's on form. Ever since getting with Taylor Swift, he's been cooking, bro. Cooking.
They did him dirty with that overlay.
Travis Kelce been cooking. I will say this, though. The defense been cooking. We already talked about it. I said it was top 10 defense at the beginning of the year. They've been cooking this year. But I will say that the receiving core is definitely playing better since week 1. Rashee Rice is looking like he's going to be the best receiver out of the receiving core.
I agree.
And he's been pretty good, especially recently. McCole Hardman, honestly, I think it was such a great get for them to bring him back, because now they have two people that you can't that can take the top off with Valdez-Scantling and McCole Hardman, and that's really great. And then Rashee Rice, if he could do that Juju Smith role, we back right where we were last year. So the Chiefs, I got number one for sure.
I think those are some great points, because after week 1, when Kelce wasn't out there, I was definitely worried about the Chiefs receiving core. But at this point, I think it's a better group than last year. I think it's deeper. I think Rashee Rice is legit. I think that they have those guys who can vertically stretch the field with Watson and MVS, and now Hardman. You got a guy you can get the ball to in space, and Kadarius Toney. And it's not like these guys individually are great, but they have specialists. They have guys who can fill their roles. And I do have the Chiefs number 1 right now. I think this is a legitimately elite defense, number 2 scoring defense right now dominant pass rush. They held the Chargers to one of their worst offensive games of the years. They held the Vikings with healthy Jettas to one of their worst offensive games of the year. The Jags to 9 points. Like, they are consistently stifling good offenses. The Lions only got 14 offensive points on them. And then the difference maker to me is the Niners and the Eagles, I think, are the two most stacked teams, top to bottom, both sides of the football, every position group. But with the inconsistency we've seen in quarterback play from both of them, especially worried about Purdy stopping the mistake-free football, putting the football in dangerous places, I always am going to believe that a Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce-led offense is going to be elite and that he is going to make big plays in big scenarios. And when they also have easily the best defense of Mahomes' career, I'm in on the Chiefs. It's tight between those top three, but I think that they have asserted themselves as the best and the most reliable of those guys to me.
Yeah, for
Spitting
sure.
already. Crazy.
Yeah, I for sure
Spitting
agree.
already.
I think that for the past 2 years, well, since last year, could win this year too. The Eagles have the better roster, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, just if I had to take a team to win it all, I'm still gonna go with the Chiefs, bro. Like, you guys still got Mahomes, and like you said, this is the best defense for sure Mahomes has ever had. So yeah, it's really that kind of plain and simple. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's for sure the top two teams are the Chiefs and the Eagles, and I'm not thinking twice. So wherever you have at number one, I don't care. Now I would like to see though how that Eagles secondary is gonna look with Kevin Byard. If they looking like they locked down for real, and how the D line is playing too, they might be number one. So it's really just flip flop for real.
Yeah, you're splitting hairs at this point, right?
I'm gonna say this right here, right? I'm kind of lazy with it. I'm gonna piggyback off of what Trent said, but just based off the fact that they won the gauntlet last year, when people like me thought they was gonna go 9-8, I feel like they just got to beat them until they get knocked off in the playoffs or whatever. I feel like these power rankings is like for the new teams, like who the new kids in the playoffs that might finna make noise. But for the most part, all these teams, the Niners, Eagles, Chiefs, they consistently there, and we know they're gonna be there. And the fact that they got Patrick Mahomes and they was able to piece together that type of season, how they was piecing together, and he was on a bum ankle, dog. I can't bet against that kid no more, bro. I don't care if he got no receivers. Like, he already showed you. They was picking and pulling receivers over there, and him and Andy Reid was figuring out how to get it done. And that was with a defense we thought that was just Chandler Jones a bust. You feel me? So, and they beat a stack. That Eagles defense last year was stacked. Didn't they whole front seven have 10 plus sacks? So you replacing that with Jalen Carter, which Breadman is as advertised, bro. But I mean, we ain't already seen Patrick Mahomes go up against a stacked defense. I mean, if you want to say Kevin Byard is an upgrade from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which he is, but I'm just saying, bro, like, I can't just go against Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? For me, them power rankings just be more so like, maybe we could have a new team like the Ravens or something that might come in and stun them and, get them up out of there and upset a few people and change the dynamic of the playoffs. But for the most part, bro, if I'm just a betting man and we just got to go with the number one census overall team, it's Mahomes and the Chiefs until further notice, bro, until the new Lombardi winner is on that stage in February.
If the Lions won last week, would they possibly have been first?
No.
Okay, I was wondering because there's a hype on it.
They're still a tier below.
No.
Like, for instance, if they played the Chiefs out of 10 times, how many times do you think they win that game? I think that might be the one time they win. Think about everything that happened.
Also, if the Lions won, they lost 38-6. Like, it's not like they
I know what you mean. It was a bad loss. I get it. But before that, the hype with the Lions, people were starting to have that. This is a team that's a Super Bowl contender. Then like, the talk was coming. So I was wondering if they won.
Well, I don't think. I think they thought they would be a competitor in the East. But I want Early to give his take off too. I want to hear his thoughts. He didn't get to go yet. Early, what are your thoughts on this?
It's pretty simple, man. Patrick Mahomes is just a league above every other quarterback in the league, and I just feel like in a shootout in the playoffs, whether it be the AFC or even the Super Bowl against him, you got to score with him, and he'll put pressure on you. And as long as that Chiefs defense can play anywhere from mid to top 15 and up, then it'll be pretty hard to beat them. I can't count on no other quarterback like I can with him, and it's not even close. So. Yeah, as long as he's playing the way he's playing, whether what receivers, it's like a Tom Brady thing. It doesn't matter who he has a receiver. As long as Travis Kelce is cooking, they'll beat almost anybody when it counts.
I should have mentioned that Jalen Hurts' health is still a problem because he's limping. I saw him limping at some point. They're still trying to manage that. I don't know if anybody else knows. Does anybody truly know what's going on with him? Because he is hurt. but I don't know what's going on.
I mean, he didn't really speak too much on it when asked about it at the press conference. He didn't really give too much. He's very stoic with his answers. I think with the power rankings, the Chiefs should be number one right now. I think to start the year, I thought the ironic thing about the Chiefs was their defense was more of their strength as their offense was still trying to figure it out to start the year. Now that they're clicking, we all know what Patrick Mahomes is. He is the system. You know, he is the thing that game breaks it for the Chiefs. Obviously, we love Kelsey as well. I think Rashee Rice is obviously starting to step up in his role. And as the Jets fan, very unfortunate that we couldn't utilize McCole Hardman in the way that he's about to be utilized back in Kansas City. We still settled in for Randall Cobb, but that's a story for another day. But ultimately, I think because of the conversation about who's the top team in the NFC, I think it may have, diluted this idea that we think these NFC teams are the top team in the league because that's what our conversations has been. But I think in terms of the AFC, it's still the Chiefs at the top just because, for the last 5 years, it's all ran through the Chiefs. You have to get through the Chiefs if you want to go anywhere fast in the AFC. We talked highly about the two young corners that they have and the way this defense is played. And ironically enough, I kind of gotta agree with Nick Wright on this one. I think last year's team was the best chance. If you were going to knock them off, that might have been the best iteration of the team to try to catch sleeping, because I think this version is a little bit better because I think the defense is a little bit more mature this year. You got Chris Jones back. I think they're not going to make some of the same youthful mistakes they made last year. People forget the Chiefs were starting the most rookies of any team last year in the entire NFL. And so now that you're looking at this team with another year of development from that defensive end of the ball, and obviously you know what they can do offensively. I mean, obviously the sky is the limit for the Chiefs. So I think right now, deservingly so, they should still be the number one team in the AFC and in the league until somebody says otherwise. Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts on that before we move on to this next one?
Well, I guess it should be mentioned that Justin Watson is practicing again. And then you got Justin Ross? He got arrested, but he's back practicing again. So the Chiefs, mind you, I'm choosing the Eagles. But if somebody told me the Chiefs, I'm not gonna argue with them. When you're talking about some of the best teams in the league, you have to split hairs at this point.
Yeah.
If they figure it out, then if that receiving core figures it out, and like they did against the Chargers, if that is more consistent, I'm laying out Mahomes.
I think anybody can figure it out against the Chargers, though.
I think the Eagles.
That secondary is pretty bad.
I think the Eagles and the Jets are actually the best matchup for the Chiefs. Like, I think the Jets defense is just that good that if Zach Wilson can just up his level a little bit, they can beat the Chiefs. Like, their defense is that good to me. So
but at the end of the day, it'll all come back down to that quarterback. That's the one that at the end of the day, it's the quarterback play though. Early, I mean, ultimately, I don't think anybody can get too confident. I feel like the Jets, we all know from a defensive standpoint, are an elite defense, but the problem is that it's such a mystery for week to week on the quarterback play. You just don't know what you're going to get. Also, we play the Giants this week. Let's see how he comes to play coming off this bye week.
Even if Zach isn't the guy long term, y'all shouldn't change nothing. Don't blow nothing up. If you got to wait till next season to get
I agree with that.
Or Kirk Cousins or somebody, just hold the fort tight. And
I agree. We have Rodgers for 2 years, but hold on. I want to get to this next topic, so I don't want to get too lost in another segue. CJ Stroud has been off to a blazing start to his NFL career. However, I think for a minute we thought he might be the foregone conclusion to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. However, P.Nacua and Jordan Addison have come on strong as of late. I want y'all to know that I think Jordan Addison has only had one less touchdown. He's been coming on strong. I think he has one less touchdown reception than Tyreek Hill on the year. Do you believe one of these receivers will catch up to CJ Stroud and potentially surpass him in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race? Carson, we'll start with you on this one.
Quarterback league.
I'm really high on CJ, and I think that is the point. Generally, when we see rookie quarterbacks have legitimately good seasons, I mean, think about this. Justin Jefferson had maybe the best rookie receiving season ever, the best since Randy Moss. He got the floor wiped with him in that Offensive Rookie of the Year race with Herbert, who had a better season than CJ's having right now, but CJ is the man. He's fourth in passing yards per game. He's fourth in yards per attempt, and he can really do it all. I think he's very accurate. I think he's efficient. I think he makes good decisions, but then he also has enough of that athleticism to extend plays, to make plays with his legs. I just think he has this team overachieving. He is already elevating this offense. The Texans are a solid football team, and they have legitimate wins already under their belt over the Jags, over the Steelers, over the Saints. Solid football teams that I would not have picked them ahead of coming into this year. So Puka's going crazy. I don't think Addison can be in that conversation yet. He had a great game. But generally, when we've seen even like outlier great production from rookie skill position talent, if there's a really good rookie quarterback, that guy wins. And I think Stroud has more value to his team, so I think that he should right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree to what you're saying here. I mean, unless CJ Stroud falls off the cliff, then he should win it pretty comfortably. Even the Falcons, Bijan is great, but he's used kind of not as much as people want him to, because Tyler Algier is there, obviously, and now they're trying to spread the ball out a little bit more. And it's crazy that Jordan Addison and Puka is getting this love when they got two like top 5 to top 3 receivers on their team. Like when Jefferson comes back, he's going to take away a lot. And when Cooper Kupp feels more healthy, obviously he's going to be Matthew Stafford's favorite target. So it's a very interesting to say that with those two teams. But considering Bryce is not playing great, and honestly, the only challenge that I would have had for CJ was Anthony Richardson, and he's out for the season. It's his award to lose, to be honest.
Yeah, it was looking good.
I mean, Puka's going crazy. Like, was it? He has over 750 yards already.
He's averaging over 100 yards a game.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and it's like
he's the number one now, basically.
Yeah. Every time I see him, I was like, how is he just? I think that's the question. It's like, how is he just this good? But it's a quarterback award. It's a quarterback award at this point, unless, like Riddell said, CJ falls off a cliff. Which by everything we've seen, he's not. He's not at all. That like if the Texans even have an outside chance to win the division, like as crazy as Puka could go crazy, and if the Texans make the playoffs, that's CJ. They already, his name's written on the award already. So
right.
Yeah.
No Bryce Young love guys. Anybody?
We're not doing that.
Can you stop with
that?
All right, let me just
give you something.
Wait, hold on. Let me give Carson a quick, history behind this whole Bryce Young thing. So our friend Early here is a lifelong Panthers fan, unless the Washington Commanders somehow managed to get Caleb Williams.
He don't sound like a Panthers fan.
However, this is why he doesn't sound like he doesn't sound like a Panthers fan, because he is actually like totally out on Bryce Young, like completely out on Bryce Young, which I think which I think is completely unfair. You know what I'm saying? Because it has not been very organized with the Panthers, but he is completely out on Bryce Young, and I think we all kind of find it not only to be ridiculous, but a bit disingenuous too, because it is the start to his career. You know what I'm saying?
Because in year three, when he mastered the NFL and he getting these MVP talks, don't come back.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let's add some context. Carson, Bama. Carson, Bama.
Carson, I'm gonna put you in some context. I just ordered 10 NFL jerseys from different Alabama players. I don't play, bro. I don't play.
I'm
a real life.
Carson, no.
I rate it. Okay, Bama.
I mean, his name is Bama.
I know it's in the name.
That should let you know. But
I'm gonna let you know. I was cheering for Alabama. Versus Tennessee, obviously, right? So it was 7-0. I'm with my homeboy, and he even was looking at me crazy. Tennessee started to gain yards, and I'm like, bro, ref, we need to start throwing some penalties. They moving the ball too easy in Tuscaloosa. I need to see some flag. I think there's some holding going on somewhere.
Right, going to the ref immediately is crazy.
He looked and said, "He's like, yeah, you a different type of fan." But anyway, Bryce gonna be MVP status, bro.
You better hope. You know what I'm saying? You better hope.
Early, you on mute, guys.
I'm glad
I'm
talking to himself
because he's about to interrupt him, and it's gonna be a whole thing. I needed him to let Bama just finish his sentence. So I already seen it. I already seen what was about to be coming. So Carson, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Bryce Young? Should people be out on Bryce Young?
No, I don't think he should be out. I do think he looks like 3 of 3 out of the rookies right now. I just think that CJ is that man, and Anthony Richardson, I think his physical tools are just ridiculous, and he's done enough as a passer up to this point. He's honestly made pretty solid decisions. Like every once in a while, he'll have that slip up. He's not super accurate, but there's so much upside there. Bryce, I do think, is physically limited, and we've seen that. He can get overwhelmed, and I think that Stroud has also had better pocket presence. He's been more composed. Like the things that were supposed to be Bryce's advantages over him, just being that sort of genius pocket operator, CJ's even been better at those. And he's a better arm talent. He's bigger. He's more athletic.
Sounds like Carson put seasoning in his food the way he cooks.
Lowry.
Don't let this man fool you. He would have said, "Hey, get Peyton out of there." After Peyton Manning's first year with the
That's
Colts.
a lie.
Yes, you would have. Yes, you would have.
Well,
It's
that's
unfair,
the thing. I
Early.
mean,
picked him as the first quarterback.
no, I
He's
would
just
not.
saying that if CJ Stroud was on your
this
team,
panel would have picked him as the
no,
first
if CJ
quarterback.
Stroud was on your team, he was
Bama
playing as
would've.
bad as Bryce was.
Bama
You'd be
Well,
telling get CJ Stroud off your team.
Well,
He wouldn't look that bad,
Bama said, I think when we first started this conversation, I personally said I would have took CJ Stroud with the first overall pick. I think Trent was here. He said CJ Stroud as well. There were some AR-15. There were some AR-15s in the mix, but everybody knew he had to be a project. And I don't think he could have gone to a dysfunctional situation and thrived. I think going to the Colts was like a great fit for him to be able to develop his tools. I think Bama was one of the few who really thought this was the number one pick in the draft going into it.
He is also in a rough situation, though. Like, that's why I wouldn't be out on him.
Carson.
He looks
Thank
like
you.
3 of 3, but the receiving core is limited. The line's bad. Like, he's having to overcome a lot. But I do think Stroud and AR-15 both would be able to do more to overcome that situation.
All I'm asking.
Yeah.
We're asking for a rookie. What do you want him to be, Mahomes?
But I'm
Yeah,
saying, if
Bryce
there are
Young
other candidates
deserves
that
one
can
more
do
year.
better
He's on the
with
worst
less,
team of the
that's
three
who
early.
you
No,
get.
I think he needs more development.
He's
He's on the worst team, though.
Thank
He's on the
you.
worst
Okay.
team
Thank
of the
you.
threes
Thank
early.
you, Redder. He looked
When
3
I-
of 3 because he's on the worst of
team.
Okay,
Worst
but think
team of the
about
three.
preseason expectations. Was there that big a gap? Like, I would argue that Richardson was doing a lot to elevate his team. Stroud was playing down 4 starting offensive linemen. He was getting
Thank you.
pressured like
Thank
crazy
you.
every game. He was making
Maybe not
plays.
Carson,
Like,
Sandy, you listen.
it's a combination of the two, I think.
Yeah, I agree because I said honestly, when we were ranking top 10 quarterbacks, and this is when at one point somebody up here on the panel said Brock Purdy was a top 5 quarterback, and so when that conversation came up, when that conversation came up, we were talking about the top 10s, and I said CJ Stroud was probably a top 10 quarterback in the league just because what he's doing with the level of difficulty. And I'm glad you brought up the offensive lineman because I'm like, he's still excelling down offensive lineman. This is a Houston Texan team that we did not see. I mean, the AFC South, Trevor Lawrence, good luck for the next decade. It is not going to be an easy, for those who thought they were going to dominate the division, CJ Stroud and AR, their development is going to be critical for the outlook of that division. But I do want to bring
starting now.
What is that about to be?
I mean, we'll see.
I'm not really.
The Jazz are quietly 5-2.
I'm not
Just
too high
chilling.
on Will Levis, but we'll see. That's one of those I got to see it to believe it. But since we're on the topic of Brock Purdy and we're talking about the 49ers, and obviously the episode is titled, "When are we gonna have the Kyle Shanahan conversation?" So obviously over the last 2 weeks, it has been a big debate and conversation about the 49ers, and it all started from the idea of who was the top team to beat in the NFC. Me, Trent, Dub, we were very high on the fact that the Eagles were still the team to beat because they won the division last year, even though they played stoppy at the time. What were they 5-0 at that time when we first had that conversation? I was like, even though they're playing sloppy, they're still winning football games. So even through they're playing down to competition and winning games, and I still think they're the team to beat. Obviously, there was a lot of judgment towards the 49ers. So the reason why the title is when are we going to have the Kyle Shanahan conversation is because we want to know, as much as Kyle Shanahan has been an elite coach in the quote, I'll put quotations around that, he has never been able to really elevate the 49ers to the top of the mountain. Is it time that we start having more criticism for Kyle Shanahan, or do we continue to give him, I think, a plethora of outs, because usually the conversation has been about his quarterbacks? Do you think there needs to be some attention to Kyle Shanahan as well, not just what he doesn't have?
Okay,
What do we
early
think?
this conversation.
Girl, you could go first. You can set the tone.
I think that we are definitely giving Kyle Shanahan a hard time. We're doing that. I think he's never had the right quarterback. Like they traded up. I don't think it was his idea to trade up and get Trey Lance. Like he's had Jimmy Garoppolo, who we all knew was legit. Brock will show you he's legit. We had Trey Lance. They had Trey Lance. That's what they had Trey Lance last year, who they were actually giving starting minutes to until he got hurt. Like, if you got a decent, if your quarterback makes that throw in the Super Bowl, which Jimmy G didn't, they win the Super Bowl, and there's none of this talk has happened. He's never had a legit quarterback on that team, and we've seen teams have great defenses but never get that good quarterback because their team is too good to get that first round draft pick quarterback. They have to wait, like the Jets. They're gonna wait till your quarterback is 38 years old and he leaves the team to get him. The Vikings with Brett Favre. So I think that if he's had the right quarterback, I think he could have easily got it done. But prime example, Sean McVay he would be the same guy if he didn't go get Matthew Stafford and when he finally left the Alliance and won a Super Bowl. So until Brock Purdy shows you more and more how much of a great that I think he is, I think it's unfair to give him that type of assessment.
Early, can I ask you one question? You don't think that trade happened with Trey Lance that he had nothing to do with? He's the head coach.
Mind you, I think he's part of the decision.
If he did, they wouldn't let him go so easy.
I think it's part of the decision, but what I think at that draft, he was very high on Mac Jones. He was very high on Mac Jones. And then whatever decision him and John Lynch decided, they went with Trey Lance. When you trade up there, obviously you trade all those picks, and I saw somebody in the comments saying calling John Lynch a terrorist. I don't know how you look at John Lynch's time with the 49ers as GM and call him a terrorist.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
I think that's ridiculous. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous.
But obviously them going all the way up and getting Trey Lance, who, I mean, Carson can tell you, anybody who's in the draft, he was so raw, and he was a clear victim of the pandemic, not being able to get those game reps in college, like those live reps in college. And only doing that one showcase game that he didn't play that well in really hurt him. Like, I would have been somebody like, I get going to the end because once you get the chance and you're going to be a first round pick, go. But maybe somebody would have been like, maybe it's better if you just stay and work this out. But he went to a place that you think that almost every quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had, and let's not hide this. When Kyle Shanahan got to the 49ers, they were the worst team in the league, dealing with both internal problems and external problems with the Colin Kaepernick situation. Yeah. So they come in, they trade for Jimmy G middle of the season, but when you're trotting out CJ Beathard, when you're trotting out Nick Mullins, and mind you, at certain points you got the best out of them, but you saw that they weren't going to get you to the mountaintop, and then you maximized Jimmy G. You maximized Jimmy G, but we knew he wasn't a guy you could give him the ball truly, and he could go win you the championship. So right now, I'm very high on Brock Purdy. I told you, I like what he's doing, and let's not get it twisted. Brock Purdy right now is a product of Shanahan's system until he proves otherwise.
Facts.
He's a product.
To what you just said, to what you just said, I think Kyle Shanahan has maxed out every quarterback he's got.
Every quarterback he's had.
Jimmy Garoppolo's got the best out of him. But Matt Ryan's best season was with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, right? But at that certain points, he had a chance to go get Kirk Cousins, and they didn't do it. He had a chance to go get Mac Jones. They didn't do it.
Yeah,
they even said no to Tom Brady. Imagine Tom Brady on those teams.
Yeah, so that's
maybe they have multiple Super Bowls.
His decision making with the players, you could call a flaw in that, but him as a coach, strictly on the X's and O's, coaching, maximizing players he has, I think he's done phenomenal on that. I think he's masked a lot of Brock Purdy's flaws that have been continually saying under pressure. Brock Purdy is a bottom 10 quarterback, PFF graded. He is bad under pressure. When his offensive line is not protecting him, I'm just saying Brock Purdy, he's slowly getting exposed. But back to the Kyle Shanahan thing. I think Kyle Shanahan has been fine. He's maximized the players he's gotten. Now, yes, could he have used a better quarterback and gotten better players? 100%. But I guess that's more to his, signing free agents or him going on and playing the free agent market. That's to that. But the X's and O's coach, I think Kyle Shanahan can 100% win you a Super Bowl. He's got to get the right players and he got to get the right quarterback.
It's not like he's not making the playoffs all the time. He's always in the deciding game too.
I will say that when it comes down to this conversation, initially I was like, do we really need to have this conversation? Because Kyle Shanahan, I mean, for the most part, I think we all can agree is elite. But then I took a step back. I started thinking a little bit more. Other than like Bill Belichick and Andy Reid, who are pretty cleared, I'm thinking about these other coaches who had elite defenses, who were very competitive for multiple years and actually ended up winning Super Bowls. Pete Carroll, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin. Now, Tomlin had been Big Ben. If you think he's a Hall of Famer, fine. But Joe Flacco and the very, very young Russell Wilson before we knew who he was. And I'm thinking I feel like in these situations, you could argue that they were in very similar circumstances, created very elite defenses, had quarterbacks that weren't proven yet, and they succeeded. Now, maybe Brock Purdy can be that quarterback that is good enough, kind of like a Joe Flacco, kind of like a Russell Wilson back when they went to the Super Bowl. He could be that quarterback. and prove it. Maybe it is a Jimmy G thing potentially. But if I'm really taking a step back and looking at it, I can't put him in conversations that is definitively ahead of some other coaches, considering they were doing very similar stuff. We're actually winning in very similar circumstances. So with that said, I do think there's a valid conversation to be had when it comes to Kyle Shanahan and who he really is in the whole slew of coaches in the NFL right now.
Sheldon, the Legion of Boom defense, are you kidding me?
Also, too,
The
though,
49ers
that's
have
kind
a
of
league defense.
I could have won a quarterback for that.
Legion of Boom is one of those you put them up there with the greatest of all time.
Yeah, don't get me
Don't
wrong,
you?
bro. I get that though, but look what time we in now, bro. Look how they make it more of a it's more of a quarterback driven league, bro. So when you bring up Joe Flacco, like even if you talk about football in the spectrum back then, it wasn't really like just all on the quarterback. It was based off the whole everything. If the run game clicking, if everything clicking, bro, like. Now, where the game is headed now, where you're giving these quarterbacks $300 million, $250 million, bro, you need somebody up under that center that's going to be able to get it done. Because one thing I will tell you about Patrick Mahomes, boy, he will make sure your quarterback will be in that moment where they have to win it for your team in order to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
I'm not just finna, because if you go back and you put Patrick Mahomes versus all them teams with Joe Flacco's and Russell was, bro, them games not gonna go how they went, bro. Like with that quarterback, what Patrick Mahomes is, that's the monster you going up against now, bro.
But
so
did
now,
Joe Flacco not have a good
he is
playoff
the
run?
only monster, dog. Y'all act like it's 10 of him. It's one of him.
What are you talking about?
Everybody else will cipher through,
but
dog.
but
It's just one of him.
but the playoffs is elimination versus
No
elimination,
one's
and you
beating
find
him.
yourself
I'm
matching
talking
up
about
against
Mahomes.
him.
No one's
though.
beating him.
But
Whatever.
still though, in that regard though, you still gonna need somebody up on the center. I mean, it's still new.
lying.
I mean, he probably can show us, but I don't know, bro. I think you need a quarterback, bro. I
But
can't
we
hold that
also
against him.
recognize, and I'm being fair because I think Mahomes is the GOAT, right? But we also recognize that if Jimmy G played better, they would have beaten the Chiefs, right?
Yeah,
We do recognize this. At the
What
end
they
of the
got to
day.
do with Shanahan though?
What you
He's a
Yeah.
GOAT.
Nothing.
Well, but Shanahan always got the best out of Jimmy. Look at Jimmy now. I mean, he's a bozo. He's so turnover prone. He's leading the league in runs right now. Like,
No, we agree. We agree with that. We agree with that.
Thank you.
Shanahan
Go ahead,
did
Carson.
everything he
Let Carson
could
go ahead,
to
Carson.
cover that up. I also think Shanahan's just a top 2 play caller in football. To me, it's him and McDaniel, but like the zone run scheme, always so effective. The motion, the eye candy, like he's just a genius play caller. He's elevating his quarterbacks more dramatically than any other coach in the last decade to me. He made Jimmy G a guy who could get you to a Super Bowl. I don't know that any other coach in football is doing that. He made Purdy a guy who is producing at the level of a top 10 quarterback. Last 2 weeks have been rough, but he's not that sort of talent in a vacuum. So I just don't put this on him. The Trey thing, terrible decision, obviously. Also, I think that there was real urgency there for them to try to get any young dynamic quarterback to replace Jimmy G. And that was the moment for it. And if you looked at the other options, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, like, are those guys better than Trey? Sure, because Trey literally can't play. Would either of them be better than Brock Purdy? Are either of them approaching average starter level? I don't think so. That was a bad decision, but I think when you look at where this roster still is, what they've gotten out of Purdy, if that's what you're keying on to criticize Shanahan when they still won 13 games last year, they're still a top 3 favorite this year without high-level quarterback talent, that's the exception in today's NFL. I think he's great, and I think that he does get held to a crazy high standard, and that's when the criticism starts to come.
Yeah, J-Rob, I was just about to say, maybe it's
Go
not
ahead,
a Kyle Shanahan conversation. Maybe we just need to lower just a tiny bit the expectation of the 49ers. Because I said yesterday, they never get over the hump. And we talked about
we don't need to do this
let
again.
Let him go.
I'm not even trying to argue. I'm just saying though, like I'm just saying, like how we talk about the Cowboys, how they're just a good team, but when it gets to matters most, they may just not get over the hump. It's the same thing with the 49ers. I'm not blaming. The only thing I can push back with Kyle Shanahan is I'm not gonna lie, like early when you brought up the trade, I'm not like Kyle Shanahan can't be out of that equation because you're the head coach. Like you're the play caller, you're all that stuff. So he had to be in that trade. Like, I'm sorry. And it was just a bad trade, bro. That's just what it is. So now you stuck with Brock Purdy, and they just can't get over the hump. So maybe I
didn't have a problem with the trade. It's who they chose after that. It's the problem.
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Who they chose. Because if they chose Mac Jones, and from everything that we saw before, Bill Belichick legitimately sabotaged him in the second season, everything we saw from Mac Jones his rookie season was like, you can win with this. You can make it to the playoffs with this. And
Right, but would that have been better than Brock Purdy right now?
I wouldn't. I don't know.
I don't
know. I don't
To be
know.
honest, I personally don't know. I personally
Yeah,
don't know. I don't want to
know.
say yes or
Probably
no.
be the same person right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, the reason why I think it's a conversation is because Kyle Shanahan, from what it seemed like off the surface, is like people were putting him in these like top 3-ish coaches. But genuine question for everybody on the panel: what is the difference between Shanahan, Harbaugh, and Pete Carroll?
Okay, I'll say Pete Carroll had a generational defense.
I mean, I'd probably say Shanahan's the best play
Generational
caller.
defense. You tell me Legion of Boom is not generational?
Top 10.
It is
Yeah.
generational, but the
They are
49ers
generational.
had an elite defense as well.
It's not the same, man.
I
Not the
know.
Legion of
I
Boom.
know.
Yeah,
Time,
not Seattle.
dog.
Not
The
Seattle
Legion of-
defense. Yeah,
Well,
different.
I agree
That
too.
Seattle defense was different. They embarrassed Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl.
A
What are we
55
talking about?
touchdown, Peyton Manning.
And
Against
also
the greatest offense ever.
The greatest
I mean, that
offense
was
of all
the thing.
time and
Yeah.
embarrassed them.
No, I understand. No, I probably say the
No.
diff. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, if we're going down to like the nitty gritty, but at the same time, Pete Carroll made that defense, right? He created the
Well,
defense. He got
but
these players.
John Snyder was also a part of that, picking those players too. Don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on the
I'm
GM
not
either.
sleeping on
He's
him.
not.
The point is, when we're talking about the head coach, because we have this conversation, you bring up Bill Belichick all the time when it comes to like the GMing stuff, right? And
'Cause he's
orchestrating
bad
a
at it.
team. If we're talking about orchestrating a team, then shouldn't a lot of credit be given to Pete Carroll for creating the Legion of Boom?
Nobody took credit from Pete Carroll. Nobody took
Okay,
credit
that's
from Pete
why.
Carroll
That's
at
why
all.
I'm saying, like,
But also, like, you're saying that, but you're also Kyle Shanahan. Like, I know you scoff at the luck motion. Kyle Shanahan's also been unlucky in terms of injuries too, and all being on the doorstep of another. Pete Carroll was literally on the doorstep of another Super Bowl, and he made a terrible decision, or else they would have went back to back. And he made a terrible decision. That stuff matters. Nobody even talks about that lucky catch that Javon Curse had to get him to that position anyway.
but
You don't want to admit it, but luck
Trent's
is a part of
argument,
this.
though.
Wait,
You're
but-
feeding into Trent's argument. They always found a way to not do it.
But
That's what Trent
my
keeps on saying for the
problem is that they're
49ers.
there and they were lucky enough to do it. The biggest problem with this situation is that Brock Purdy got hurt in the start of the game for the NFC
That wasn't
Championship.
going well regardless.
I don't think that would have made a difference.
I don't think it would
that
have
would've
been,
made a difference.
but that's a huge question mark on that game, whether or not you
Yeah,
believe they would have
but
won
I'm
or
saying-
not.
Can I?
Okay,
I'm
Who
not
do you
saying
think is
Hold
better,
on,
Pete
Jay.
Carroll or
Hold on, Jay.
Shanahan? Who do you think is better?
Hold on, Jay.
Right now,
Let me chime in.
Shanahan's a better coach than Pete Carroll.
let me chime in. Yeah, right now you probably may take Kyle Shanahan or have an argument. I just want to obviously I don't want to say like obviously when we say when we're going to have a Kyle Shanahan conversation, obviously it's been a conversation, so that's why it's the title. I don't think it's anybody saying that Kyle Shanahan is an overrated coach. I think it is very clear Kyle Shanahan is one of the 5 best coaches in football. However, I do think the conversation that people, and I think the one that me and Trent have kind of just brought to the forefront is I do think if there was another team that wasn't named 49ers who have had the level of success that they have had, but have ultimately underperformed in the end of it. And what I mean by that is, you know, you're losing. They've lost this is over the span of a few years now. They've lost in playoff games to teams that they shouldn't have. They've made it almost to the top of the mountain, and they haven't found success. I think obviously last year we look at the Purdy situation. Obviously, we say they needed an upgrade from Jimmy G. But I do feel like, you know, for a team that is constantly not really done anything since the 90s in terms of winning championships, I do think we have to stop at sometimes almost anointing them as preseason Super Bowl champions as much as we do, because we're already aware that they're always going to be a good football team. I do think it's okay for people to have question marks about this team's ability to finish it though, because I don't think anybody questions the talent of the team. So that's my biggest thing. Everybody knows how good these teams are going to be, but they're still not finishing. And honestly, how long has been Shanahan's been the coach since what? 2016, 2017. You know, since 2017. So my thing is just more so, I think it's okay for people to look at Kyle Shanahan as like, yo, when you know, you got to figure this thing out, because we keep getting to an NFC championship. We lose in the second round. We get to the Super Bowl. We don't win, but we're a throwaway. So I think those things are okay for people to look at. I think also they've been almost masked in that regard because of the Dallas Cowboys having these 12, 11 plus win seasons, and they flop in the first round. So I think they've masked up as being more of the laughing stock of the NFC.
But didn't they make it to the NFC? They made it to the NFC Championship last year. They lost to the Eagles because of all them quarterbacks. The year before that, they lost in the NFC Championship to the Rams, and the Rams won the Super Bowl. The year before that, when they in the Super Bowl, right? If I'm not
And
mistaken,
they were ravaged by injury.
All I'm
Then
saying is that
you
they
making
lost.
me and J-Ross point.
but 3 consecutive years though, like
Yeah,
like,
but
that's my
consecutive L's.
problem. That's always
the
been my
point.
problem.
Can we-
That's
can
always
we-
my trend. My problem is the word that
I
you're using,
guess.
underperforming. They're there. They're legit. The Dallas Cowboys do not even get to the hump. That is the problem. That's
Okay.
comparing them to the they don't make
Okay,
it to
this
the
is the
hump.
thing.
Hold on, Trent. Let me finish. Okay, so they don't get to the hump,
Go
and
ahead
they
and Trent,
clearly
right here.
underperform and lose to teams. Okay, and NFC Championship, ravaged by injury to the point it's like they're just whatever that bug that usually infests the Baltimore Ravens decided, Lord, let's go to West Coast to catch and get some sun, and then Super Bowl, NFC Championship, and then before that they were the legitimately the worst team in the league.
Okay, random.
That's why I'm sitting like.
But here's when I first said that I said they're the prettier version, meaning they get past the divisional round, and then when they get to the conference championship or occasionally a Super Bowl, they never get over hump.
And
Now,
they lose the Super Bowl. They lose the team that wins the Super Bowl.
Random. Oh, that doesn't mean anything. You still lose.
Can Earl say this thing?
Go ahead, Early. Go ahead.
Can we be totally? First of all, let me say. I don't say one thing. Carson, you are officially invited to the cookout, and you on the ribs.
Appreciate it. And you on the
but
ribs. It's crazy.
And it's the thing. Like, let's be real. If we really watching football, I know some of y'all babies on this page. The 49ers have been a last man stock since the 2000s for the most part of the 2000s. From 2000 to 2023 now, they have been a last, like no one, let's not make it seem like since for the last 15 years, we've always rooted for the 49ers.
You can call Chill, he'll tell you.
If there's another team that was in the division, in the Super Bowl, in the NFC Championship in the last 3 to 4 years, we'll be rooting for them too. Stop acting like we've been rooting for the 49ers since 2005. Like, they have so many gaps where we don't say nothing about them because they don't deserve to be talked about. So when they do deserve to be talked about, we talking about them, dog.
Okay,
if the Giants was doing this, if the Jets was doing this, if the other team was doing this, we would not be like.
Can I just say this is not. I don't think you're really listening to what we're saying. I don't think you're listening to what we're saying. We're not saying the 49ers haven't been dominant. I think there just needs to be it's okay to question the
why can't you get over the hump? Like,
they've been a dominant
comparing them to a team who hasn't shown nothing.
We didn't compare them. I didn't compare them. I just said I think the reason why people haven't talked about their inability to finish championships because of the Cowboys being worse at finishing. I think they've masqueraded some of the attention. That's all I'm saying.
What you just said had nothing to do with what you just said had nothing to do with what I was saying though. That had nothing to do with
I don't think that's bad. Go ahead, Carson.
You're basically saying the last 4 years because they've been so good and we rooted for them that they're overrated.
It's not what?
No, he didn't say overrated.
I
get what
he's saying.
I get what J-Rob and Trent are saying in terms of getting over the hump, but like I think they lost to teams that it's not like they had a clear upset. They lost to teams that were either the same level or a little bit better than them. Like the Rams literally won the Super Bowl, and I think that you could have tossed a coin flip in that NFC Championship game, and whichever team would have been better.
Why are you giving that as like a cop or a plea?
I'm not giving it a cop. I'm just saying to call them,
and they didn't get over the hump.
My biggest problem is calling them the prettier version of the Cowboys when the Cowboys haven't even seen.
No, the California Cowboys thing was definitely a joke, but
because like the Cowboys haven't seen an NFC Championship since '95.
Okay, they're a better version of them.
Yeah, y'all little stuck onto it a little bit too.
Y'all took the Cowboys thing and took it a little.
Taking it too little.
It was more of like a joke. It was more like
because at the same time, I think we all agree. We kind of we understand what they're saying in terms of the inability to do it. Now, I will say this though, I don't think it's a bad thing. I still think the Niners situation is like you gotta praise them for it. Kind of similar to the Miami Heat in the NBA, to be honest. Like you praise the fact that they're constantly competitive every year, but at the same time, the criticism is there because just like the Heat, you want them to win. You want them to win it all. You want them to succeed, right? So that. I see what you're both saying. I think it's a good thing that they're this competitive, but losing consistently does get a sour taste.
They're dominant. They're dominant. They're 100% dominant. Carson, go ahead. We got to get to the next topic. Yeah, go ahead.
Last thing that I want to add is we're talking about them falling short in these big spots as if it's like a repeated trend. They have 2 healthy years in the Kyle Shanahan era, and they were a Jimmy G throwaway from a Super Bowl, and they were a field goal away from going to the Super Bowl. Last year, whether you think they were going to beat the Eagles or not, they couldn't throw a forward pass. They were with their 3rd string quarterback. Like, that's not a situation to really judge them on.
That you have an emergency quarterback. after
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So I don't know that we can really say that that's an established trend up to this point. And if there is someone we hold to account, to me, it's not Kyle Shanahan. It's the fact that they don't have those really high level quarterback plays. Like Bama was saying, in today's league, you're going up against elite quarterbacks. They have to step up. They have to eventually make big plays. So if anything's been holding the Niners back, it's that to me. It's not Shanahan.
All right, so that's perfect. That was actually the perfect segue into the next question.
Let's go.
The next topic. Perfect. So, with that being said about that quarterback play, we love quarterback play up here on Player's Choice. With teams gathering more tape and information about Brock Purdy.
I'm off.
Oh, where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going?
Talk about it. Don't be running now. Don't be running now.
Where are you going? Where are you going? All I'm asking is, Mister, I just want you to know, Carson, this guy right here with the blanket over his head.
Yeah.
He was like the Steve Young on TV, whoever said it. He was the Purdy Montana, Purdy Brady. He was another advocate on Young Montana, Young Brady. So just so you know, that's why he got that thing over his head. With teams gathering more tape on Brock Purdy, are y'all still confident that he can lead the 49ers to an NFC championship and to the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Okay, look, I'm obviously very high on Brock Purdy. And like I said, most of the time, the tests that have been thrown up to him, he's been able to find a way to pass it. Obviously, the biggest game, we had a lot of questions going into that Cowboys game, right? That's the one where obviously me, J-Rob, Trent, we sat there like, this is a big game for Purdy. And obviously it was a big game for both quarterbacks that we needed to see. And Purdy played well. Now that this always happens to every up-and-coming quarterback, now that they get tape, they try new things on you. Can you adjust? And this is the point. This is the part of the season, mind you. Purdy has only played 12 games as a starter, and the problem is he also has the best contract in all of professional football. So there's the times it feels like the time's running out already. So I think he can, because I just don't have. I think he can. Now, obviously, if this goes on for a few more weeks, like he can't adjust to this, then we're gonna have some problems. But I think he can adjust and can keep going. Is he going to start going out there throwing for 300 yards? No, he's maybe a year or two away from that. But right now, he has to show that he can play above the system in stretches. And right now, he just, I think we saw it in the Cowboy game where he was legitimately just dicing up that defense. And if he can learn how to play above that defense, play above the system now, and then eventually Kyle Shanahan will just in a perfect world, he just starts handing over more and more of the reins to him. But right now, I think he can. That's basically what I think he can.
It's crazy on this panel recently because we got people saying some crazy overrated stuff about Brock Purdy, and then we got people who
say they know recent, but continue.
We got
early. Say early name.
Overrated stuff about Brock Purdy, and then we got people who want to humble Brock Purdy a lot. So my thing is, I mean, I think Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy G. I think Brock Purdy is a pretty good quarterback for what he is. I have him like around the 15 range. I expect him to make throws when it counts. I think he did do it against the Browns. They should have won that game. The kicker choked and missed the field goal. Against the Vikings, he choked. He just straight out choked at the end. He threw an interception. He threw a bad throw. So Brock Purdy is going to have these moments. I'm not expecting like him to be an elite quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be an elite quarterback, but he can come to his own and figure out who he is, which he kind of understands now, and then play within himself with that system, which they can. Yes, having no Debo is definitely a struggle for them. For the Vikings, like they should have done something to the Chargers where Herbert was hike, pass, quick slant, Keenan Allen constantly. I don't know why they weren't doing more quick passes. Maybe that's just not what maybe they just can't do that without Debo Samuel. I don't really know, but they should be fine. I'm not worried about the Brock Purdy, to be honest.
Okay, I just want to say something real quick. So this is what I was telling somebody. I'm watching with diehard Niner fans. That Browns game, when they got the ball back, I said this in the back of my head. I said, if he don't score 7, they're gonna lose this game if he rely on the kicker. I was like, because Brock Purdy really hasn't truly had a defining moment to where everything was just on him to get the job done. He like the ultimate front runner almost. That defense beat you the fuck up, and then that run game is going run game.
Etiquette, bro.
Etiquette.
He
don't wear Alabama jersey.
He got guard Dunham. He got guard Dunham back there in the backfield running that thing. Air play. Google who guard Dunham is, longest yard. He got guard Dunham back there running the ball. Then he got George Kittle. Then he got that defense. So you could pretty much control any game with that, bro. I was like, if he don't get 7, they're gonna lose his game. Because the reason why, bro, if you look at any OC with their quarterback, bro, it'd be like a point in time where they do the fusion dance and they link together like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You could look at Sean McVay with Matt Stafford in that championship game versus the Niners. Late game, this dude throwing no-look passes, bro. That is somebody that fully got the quarterback they love comfortable, dialed in, bro. And you have to be able to do that in order to win games. Sometimes in order to win a game, you cannot let it go out there and rest on anybody but you, bro. The $500 million man is not going to put the game on the kicker, bro. Especially when it's enough time to go out there and get 7. Especially when you haven't had that moment. Brock Purdy never had that moment, and it was set up. It was gifted to him in his lap, bro.
Bama, but he did his job. He drove him down to kick a field goal.
It's more about not just doing your job, dog. It's about
taking 12 games. You're telling him to do something. Patrick Mahomes has done, and Patrick Mahomes is the anomaly.
This is
he's the anomaly, J-Rob.
This is not what I already told you. Matt Stafford did it.
I kind of understand what he's. I kind of understand.
I understand Brock Purdy.
Justin Herbert.
I understand the sense
Herbert's better also.
Trevor Lawrence did this in the playoffs against Justin. When they both got in sync, bro, they started dialing up touchdowns, bro. It wasn't just field goals, bro. Like at this point, this was like crucial points, bro, where we are so locked in, bro. I know I can call a play where this guy's going to read it and he's going to get me 7. Brock Purdy was supposed to do that to deliver that game.
But at the same
that's why the football guys are not blessing. He's been front running. He's been front running his whole career.
The reason why I can't fully get onto that is because there's a man in Cincinnati that went to the Super Bowl with a lot of kicks and a lot of field goals, if we're being completely honest. Evan McPherson, my best. No, I'm a Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow. My best
it's not
friend,
the same situation.
My best friend is a Bengals. My best friend is a Bengals fan.
I hate when they do the bad comparisons, though. They go to
this is not because
I'm not gonna cut you off.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
This nasty.
I hear what you're saying, but like you, based on Brock Purdy, and I do think that there's like another level he has to get to be like a Stafford, but he might not ever get to that level. But do your job to win the game. I mean, that's literally what Joe Burrow was doing in the playoffs with the Bengals. Evan McPherson had so many field goals in that playoffs, it was ridiculous. Now, I think Joe Burrow still balled and did what he had to do, but I don't think that should be an indictment on Purdy.
I don't think he
had to do to win the game.
I don't personally think that's what Bama is saying. I mean, I don't know how much y'all believe in the sports gods, but I think that's more of an athlete thing. Like I do believe in the football and the basketball gods, but that's beyond the point. I'm not going to get superstitious here. I think what Bama is trying to say is in that Cleveland Browns game, you didn't need Brock Purdy to manage the game and do enough. You needed him to be exceptional and get into the end zone. And I think that's what Bama is trying to say. And I think in that moment, because he wasn't able to be exceptional, he could only get them to a field goal. He said in due time, you're not always going to get the upright. Sometimes it's not going to be that
yards,
way.
Y'all.
Yeah, it's not going to be that much.
Just enough. He did just enough.
Is there nothing wrong with that?
At this point,
is there nothing wrong with getting to the point where you got a chance to win the game?
Hold on, guys. That's not what he's trying to. I don't think that's what he's trying to say. I don't think he's trying to say that Brock Purdy is bad for not getting a touchdown. I think what he's trying to say is that Brock Purdy has not shown the ability to play above himself yet. And I think that's what people want. And I think that's what people are waiting to see out of Brock Purdy. Exactly. Can he play to this elite level? And I want to say this too. I think Shona, Riddell, you said it a little bit off when you said people are over. We said Brock Purdy is overrated because I think that depends on where you rated Brock Purdy. Yeah. I don't think I don't think he's overrated because I'm not one of these people who said he was a top 5 quarterback in the league or a soft 9-10 best quarterback in football. I think he still has some work to do. I think until Brock Purdy is able to show that he can play almost above himself, I think that's what it's going to, because I think that's what it ultimately is going to take once they get to the playoff. I think Brock Purdy, that's why, I mean, if that's what everybody's take for the shortcomings of the 49ers was their inability to have the level of quarterback play necessary to win. I just want to see Brock Purdy be able to show that level of quarterback play that y'all looking for. Because if it doesn't happen a year later, the conversation is going to go back to what it's always been. The 49ers have not had the quarterback to lead them. And I'm just hoping that Brock Purdy can be that guy, because I really don't want to go in that circle again.
Just know this, fellas. In 2001, when a certain quarterback threw for 18 touchdowns and 12 picks, there was some drunk Bostonian in the corner saying, that's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time.
This is what we mean overrated. This is what we mean.
Out of the ball.
That's where me and Early separate.
Yeah, this is what we mean,
right there. You can't say that, Early. You can't say that. Just because they were both drafted late.
Maybe Earl was cooking that day.
I mean, nobody knew Brady was going to be who he was to be here.
I don't think Brady showed the weaknesses that Purdy has shown.
Oh, you don't know.
I don't think it's Purdy has showed these weaknesses. It's just been masked by winning. All right. So one,
Brady threw for
Purdy, hold on.
Let him finish.
Tom Brady under pressure never struggled as much as Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a bottom 10 PFF rated quarterback when he's under pressure. He does not know how to handle pressure. It's all hold on. Yes, when you look at the totality of his career, yes, he does not know how to handle pressure. The problem is
let him finish.
People don't look at these things when they're winning games. All they see is the scoreline. It's like, okay, because winning masks everything. You can ignore the flaws when the team wins, but when he doesn't have Christian McCaffrey doing his thing at 100%, when he doesn't have his offensive line being amazing, and when he doesn't have all his pieces, and when it's up to him to make a play, he doesn't do it. It's literally Kyle Shanahan who's giving him the plays. Brock Purdy struggles to even change the play when he's at the line. When the defense changes their scheme, he does not change plays at the line. He's literally waiting for a coach, or he does nothing to change it, which is why he struggles.
Once again, Jalen, this is where you're not being fair. You're talking about a guy who's only played 12 games. 12 games as a starter. That's okay. He's not Patrick Mahomes.
Relax a little. Jalen, relax a little bit.
And you're saying Brady. You're saying Brady
he's
never.
Young,
you're saying Brady never let that happen. I can pull up games right now showing you Brady getting his butt kicked.
There's two Super Bowls that begs to differ.
I hear you. Trey Lance got traded off too. I'm not trying to hear that when Trey Lance got traded off too.
2 Super Bowls.
He got.
Hold on, guys. Make sure one at a time. Make sure everybody speaks.
Trey Lance just wasn't good enough, Bama. There's a reason why they sent him away. They saw him every day in practice, and they knew, oh my God, this 7th-round pick is better than the guy we traded the farm for. So they traded him to get some kind of value back. That's my biggest problem. They saw him every day in practice, and they definitely tried to give him reps. They definitely tried. Him getting hurt, that sucks. That's professional football. You think Josh Rosen doesn't think he got a bad go a bit at the NFL?
For sure.
He got sent to the worst situation in Arizona, and they were done with him immediately. That's just how it goes. So that's why I'm saying, like, they saw Trey Lance every day in practice. They saw Brock Purdy, and they were like, oh my God, Brock Purdy's better. So eventually they're just like, you know what? We're done. Just put Brock Purdy in the
He got hurt twice. Like, at the end of the day, Trey Lance was unlucky from the start. Remember, he dislocated his finger, then he broke his ankle. So he's never had the ability to get like the reps that he's looking for. Hold on.
Bama is an Alabama fan. Stop acting like you know quarterbacks, dog. Y'all almost always suck, dog. You don't even know.
Tua Tagovailoa good at quarterback.
That's one
Carson, what are your thoughts on Brock Purdy?
I think that Purdy's an above average starter. I do think that he has some issues, and I think that under pressure, sometimes he can get a little bit chaotic. And I think he had a few instances in the first few weeks where he got away with that if it was draft picks. And so it didn't show up in terms of turnovers, but that can happen. At the same time, I think for the most part, what the Niners are looking for, what a lot of NFL teams are looking for, but especially someone with their loaded skill position talent, their great play calling, is just a guy who can execute, who is accurate as a thrower.
Game manager.
He's a good game manager. He's a good game manager who's got a little bit of that magic in him. Like, you see the spots where he can escape the pocket. He's athletic enough in spots. So I do think that he's good. I don't want to overreact. The Browns game, I mean, he's facing a top 3 defense in football in terrible conditions, down 2 of his best weapons, and he did drive them down the field. Like, to me, if a guy has a minute 40 seconds left, they're down 2. Everybody in football is playing for the field goal there. Even Patrick Mahomes is playing for the field goal there. Josh Allen's playing for the field goal. They're going surgical mode. Let's just get down, get inside that 25-yard line. That's what he did. This Vikings game was bad because he made a couple boneheaded plays, especially in a big spot. But I think that there's a happy medium where we can acknowledge. I think he's legitimately solid. I think he's even good, but we don't have to hold him to the standards of a Matt Stafford. He's just not that. He's not that kind of arm talent. He's not that elevator. 2021 Matt Stafford was crazy, bro. That was a top 5 QB. That was 40 touchdowns. That was carrying a limited run game. So Purdy's good. I think that they have a chance at winning the Super Bowl with him, but it is going to have to be they just completely outplay the other football team. I do think if you need him to be spectacular, he might not.
Can I ask y'all one more question? One more question to the panel before we get to our next topic, because I really want to talk about this next topic too. I think it'll be kind of funny. My only question to y'all is: are y'all confident that if a team neutralizes Christian McCaffrey's impact on the game, do you think that team is good enough to find other ways to win?
Yep.
Will they be able to find ways to win when the play action pass becomes less limited because the defense not going to be biting on it the same? Do you think this team could win in situations where they're trailing? Because I gave y'all the stat for his record when trailing going into fourth quarters. He's
as of right now.
My question is, what is your confidence in them at this point?
As of right now, until I guess Purdy shows it, I have to say no. But like I'm watching Brandon Katz in the comments naming all his weapons. Do we really need to talk about the weapons Mahomes had when he was a rookie? Every good quarterback, you want to maximize that quarterback contract, that easy quarterback contract. You stack that team with weapons, and hopefully you win a Super Bowl.
Did you just
compare Mahomes did throw 50
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just comparing the situation. All I'm comparing is the situation. I'm not
Mahomes coming out party was 5K and 50, bro.
This is what I'm saying. MVP. I'm just comparing the situation, not the quarterbacks. Mahomes is clearly the better quarterback now and probably forever.
I would argue Purdy's situation is better. I would argue Purdy's situation is better than Mahomes.
All I was naming was the offensive weapons. That's all I was naming. That's all I was naming.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna be short.
Hold on. Let me finish early, please. Let me finish. So, you want to see at some point that Purdy can show it. As of right now, even me as a Purdy defender, I can't say that until I see it. But this is all belief at this point. And he's shown you that at least at the best, except for the Vikings game, he's not trying to lose you the game. And Brandon Katz, go look at Jalen Hurts' numbers against that Vikings defense and then come back and talk to me. All right? And Jalen Hurts is more established.
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm so tired of y'all. Actually, go ahead. It's fine. Just give y'all closing points because we gotta get.
All right, this is my whole thing. I think that we got to be real with ourselves, man. Other than Tom Brady and then Patrick Mahomes, like we are living in a society now where y'all make. You know how many? I
agree. We have to stop bringing those guys as examples. Please, we have to stop.
Sniff a playoff, but we if it ain't Brady or it's Mahomes, like dog, what he did is astronomical. It don't happen a lot.
Yeah,
it don't happen.
I agree.
It took 20 years for it to happen because the only one to get a Super Bowl in his first 2 years was Brady, dog.
I agree.
It don't happen in real life.
I agree.
Y'all think it do, man.
I agree.
Y'all put everybody on that level.
I hate the comparison.
The greats that you love, the Joe Montanas, they took years.
I agree.
I agree to that.
Brady, I mean, even Peyton Manning, he was awful for his first couple years. But y'all make it so hard.
I agree with him, bro.
We all agree on that, but early, you're the one who made Brock Purdy his all-time great quarterback after 6 games. You talked about it like he was Joe Montana after 6 games.
You were calling him
early. You did call him Brock Brady, bro.
Yeah, I will say my thing is
I got excited.
Yeah, my thing is
I got excited. It's crazy.
Brock Brady was crazy, and I'm gonna tell you the biggest issue with Brock Purdy. I think from a mass media standpoint, I think it was that call in that NFL game where he was reminding me of a young Joe Montana. I think that was the first big overrate of Brock Purdy. Then obviously on the platform, you got guys saying if the 3 weeks into the season, if the season ended, he's the MVP of the league. So with all of those expectations early, that's why these conversations I think happen, because once you start thrusting people to these heights, and I think this is why on our platform specifically there's been so many hot and cold debates about Justin Herbert, because when he first came onto the scene, a lot of guys threw him into like that top 3, top 4 mix right out of the gate, and I think into his rookie, and I'm talking about his rookie year in the league, that created a crazy amount of conversation. So You know, I think when you put a guy at peaks before they even really have a chance to get their feet wet, I think it creates some really, really hard criticism. But I do want to move on to this next topic because it was a topic we talked about here on the press box. Maybe I want to say right before the season started. We talked about some new starters that were playing quarterback in the league this year. The three that we talked about the most was Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and Jordan Love. And so my question to the panel is, we'll start with Trent on this one. Which do any of these three first year starters at quarterback, do they deserve a second chance next season, or would you decide to move on from them if you had the opportunity to?
Well, Jordan Love, I think you have to stay with him.
Period.
I think that's period. Even though those 2 games that we first saw him, Jordan Love, we thought he about to be the truth. It's been mad rocky for him, so we still gotta let him rock. Desmond Ridder, it's because if there wasn't so many trade negotiations that people were trying to ship him out and get like a Kyler or another other quarterback, then yeah. But I think if that doesn't happen, yeah, you got to stay with him. I feel like, bro, like what Early said, bro, some of these quarterbacks take a little minute for them to get going. I'm not saying Desmond Ridder got the potential of the world, bro. When you really have all the weapons with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, like you got dudes around him, so you can look pretty solid. And Desmond Ridder's play has also been picking up a lot since the first 2 weeks in that bad game from against the Commanders. And then Sam Howell, yeah, you got to stay with him unless they just have like a bad year and there's another quarterback that's like maybe like a can't miss guy like a Drake, Caleb, something like that. But they already got 3 wins. So, they basically almost out of the equation. So I think you got to stay with all of them for real. Honestly, I think you kind of have to unless you get a trade for a Kyler or something like that.
Carson, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not high on any of these dudes, honestly, so I have to disagree. Love, I think you are judging him as a first-year starter, but you also are judging him as a fourth-year quarterback and a guy who showed flashes in the first couple weeks, but even in those games, there was a lot of inconsistency in terms of accuracy. I think his accuracy is just downright bad, and if you look at some of the numbers to support that, he is the 4th highest bad throw percentage. He is bottom 5 in terms of on-target percentage. Like, he's just struggling to get the easy stuff done at times, and when your quarterback is holding you back in that way, that's a problem. I mean, he's got decent athletic traits. I just think it's hard to envision a scenario where he turns into like a franchise guy. I think maybe he's a low-end starter, but I do think he's the best of the bunch. Ridder, man, I just think really struggles to push the ball down the field. He had that one good game where the Falcons were actually able to lean on him. That was nice to see, but overall, I think we haven't really seen that from him. And Sam Howell is fine, but he's a very slow decision maker. And I know that he's getting sacked like more times than rookie David Carr. Like, it actually might be a record-setting season, but the line is bad. I think also he has responsibility in that because he's always looking downfield. He's always trying to make a big play. And oftentimes that's not the best thing for them. And then he doesn't have those sort of like above and beyond athletic traits. So I would, if I were drafting high, especially for the Falcons, they're not going to be drafting that high, but for the Commanders, I would be looking to upgrade at the quarterback position. I don't see those guys as franchise dudes who I want to build around.
Yeah, for me, when it comes down to it, I agree with Trent. The Packers are kind of like, hey, man, you got to see this through with Jordan Love, to be honest. They did this whole stuff with Aaron Rodgers. They drafted him. They invested him. And then they give him a new contract, too. It's like you kind of just have to live with Jordan Love until like he just sucks. Desmond Ridder, I mean, I've never been a fan of Desmond Ridder. He has his moments, but like it's pretty obvious to me watching the Falcons play that Arthur Smith actually does want to throw the ball. They just can't a lot of the times because Desmond Ridder, when he does throw it down, it's either inaccurate or just a bad decision, despite having Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Sometimes it works out. He throws it up to Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts makes a great play. Or Drake London, he throws it up to Drake London. He makes a great play. But Desmond Ridder is just not that great. And then Sam Howell is the more interesting one because there can be a situation where they lose enough games to where they can get a good quarterback. But at the same time, the Washington defense is atrocious and their offensive line is disgusting. 40 sacks is disgusting. That is disgusting amount of sacks to one quarterback. I'm going to be honest. And I
not
probably
even 10 games in.
Exactly.
But hold up. That 40 sacks, though, I mean, I looked at the numbers because that was a big thing, right? The numbers, only 13 have been attributed to the offensive line. The rest He was right before when he said that Sam Howell has been holding the ball off long. So
even
the offensive
27
line
sacks is disgusting.
No. I said only 13. 13 sacks out of those 40 have been attributed to the offensive line. They're actually a really good offensive line. They have positive grades all around. Sam Howell is actually the problem with those sacks. It's not the offensive line. Just want to clarify that.
I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, I feel like you can make that case of a lot of situations where there's a lot of a lot of sacks. I only can take that for face value when it comes to certain stats like that.
I hear you.
But when it comes down to the Commanders, like on the safe side, I definitely would draft a quarterback. I don't know if they get like an early pick, like it's guaranteed you take Penix, May, Caleb. But even later on in like the third, second round, I probably still would. But I would start Sam Howell the first season before anything else. So other than that, Jordan Love's like the only quarterback I could see. Like they're probably gonna stick it with him, to be honest.
I'm with Carson. I don't like any of them. But I was like, I didn't know the stat that Jalen threw out about the sack numbers, because I was like, man, every time I see Howell drop back to pass, he's on the ground already. So I think all three of those teams, if they have high picks, which I think all of them might have mid to high picks, and if Michael Penix is there, they're all I can't say for Green Bay. I think Green Bay is they've invested so much, they might keep it going with Jordan Love. But even the staunchest Atlanta Falcons fan, if your team's on the board, Michael Penix is there, you're taking it, and you're like, hey, right, Desmond Ridder, thank you for the year and a half that you gave us, but Michael Penix is we just think he's better, and you're gonna embrace that. So Sam Howell, I think there's going to be a lot of turnover with the Commanders here pretty soon, not just internally, but also like they're already talking about changing the name back or doing this. Will be a lot of turnover. I hope that they somehow still keep Eric Bieniemy still there, because I like what he's done. At least I enjoy what he's trying to do with that offense. Obviously, you got to shore up. If you are going to keep Howell, you're going to get a new quarterback. Shore up those bad habits that Howell picked up, or if you get Penix, then let's ride with that. But I'm with Carson. I don't like all three of them, and two of them are definitely, if the right quarterback's there, they're getting new quarterbacks.
For me personally, I look at the situation and I agree. I think I'm gonna be honest. I think Jordan Love, you got to give him another year. Now, Carson, I love the point about him being a fourth-year quarterback. So I thought the same thing. I've expected a little bit more out of him coming out. You've had a lot of time to sit under Aaron Rodgers, and I get it. The speed of the game is faster in real time than it is, taking mental reps in practice. But I feel like he should be adapting better to the NFL game than I've kind of hoped for. But I do see a situation where Matt LaFleur goes with Jordan Love next year, just because they drafted him to be the heir apparent. I think the ego of GM sometimes, so this has to be our guy. I think that'll play in a bit this year. So I can see him being the guy next year. Now, the Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder thing is interesting because the Falcons might still win the division and still look to replace their quarterback. And so I see Desmond Ridder as a guy. Unfortunately, I think he's just not dynamic enough. I think he is an offensive limiter, and they are driving a Ferrari with a V2 engine. And so when you have all the firepower that they are able to have, and they only average per game 16 points a game, that is a glaring issue. You have Bijan Robinson, you have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts, you have a slew of young athletic weapons that are in their prime, and you're not making the most of it. And so you have to look at not only Arthur Smith, but you need to look at the guy who's operating your offense. And then the Commander situation, understanding the sacks. I think two things can be true. I think they can have not the greatest O-line. I can also think he holds the ball too long. I think Sam Howell has a lot of talent, but I also think he may be a bit limited. And the reason why I think Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell are probably the two most likely to be replaced is because next year is Kirk Cousins is a free agent, and it's Kyler Murray obviously potentially being on the trade block. So with those two quarterbacks already clearly being upgrades from both of the two quarterbacks we're talking about, I can see a Commanders Kirk Cousins reunion, and I can see Atlanta trying to get the most out of a Kyler Murray, having a Bijan Robinson, Kyler Murray backfield can be really dynamic for you. And the third thing is, I think Penix, May, Caleb Williams, even Jaden Daniels are better prospects or better building block quarterbacks than Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder. So I just think the options out there for both teams are a lot better are a lot better than what the Commanders and the Falcons are settling for. And realistically, how long are the Commanders going to let the Eagles and Cowboys dominate the division? And do the Falcons really want to be taken seriously in the NFC South? And I think if those questions are yes, we want to be dominant, I think you have to look for upgrades at those quarterback positions.
Yeah, one question for you. So, because to me, I think that the Falcons are like a year or two away. So with that being said, you just automatically get rid of Desmond Ridder then?
I think so.
If you can bring in Kyler Murray or Kirk Cousins, yeah, get rid of him immediately because they are immediate upgrades. They are right now upgrades. They make you a better team. I think the thing is, and like I said before, bro, they're probably there's a really good chance. I mean, Pete Carmichael, Lord have mercy. What they got going on in New Orleans, Lord have mercy. Obviously, is Chris Olave going to be suspended? We'll see how that goes based off his situation. To my athletes out there, please don't tell the cops when you're getting arrested what team you play for or who you are. They're going to find out regardless. I'm telling you right now, they're going to find out regardless. You don't have to believe who you are. You're not.
That's never going to work.
It's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. It just makes you look even worse in the situation. But besides the point, I don't see a situation where if you can't upgrade right now, you don't go ahead and do that. If I'm at least the Atlanta Falcons,
I think they're immediate tier 2 team, to be honest. If they get a good quarterback, like
if you get Kirk Cousins,
same tier as the Cowboys, Lions.
Well, do y'all worry about Kirk Cousins' aging? Because Kirk is about to be 35.
And Kirk's gonna get like a 2-3 year deal.
I'm just saying, like the age factor kind of.
Yeah. Well, the only thing, Trent, is if you get Kirk and Kyler, that immediately accelerates your timeline. Now you're like, we got to start.
So that's what I'm saying. It accelerates.
I also want Kyle Pitts to not have to commit sorcery to catch footballs from that behind the back pass was crazy, and I'm like. I hate the fact that every time I watch a Falcons game, I just forget that Kyle Pitts is there.
Right.
I just forget that. And I'm like, if you don't want him, just trade him somewhere and somebody else will use him.
Recently, they've been using him. Him and Drake have been getting.
I've been asking that for 2 years.
He could put up Travis Kelce numbers with the right quarterback. I think Kyle Pitts is that good.
I mean, J-Rob said it. Ridder is an offensive limiter, and it's also the totality of the team. I mean, this is a legitimately good defense. This is a really good secondary. They're top 5 in pressure rate right now. It's a top 10 scoring defense. And yeah, they've got absurd athletic weapons. They have one of the best run games in football. So if you had average quarterback play, if you had Kirk, they're not a Super Bowl contender, but that's an 11-win team to me. That's a team that can win a playoff game. But when you just can't push the ball downfield, and also Ridder makes those back-breaking mistakes. So does Howell. So it's like when you can't manage the game, you can't do the easy stuff, and you do some of the really dumb stuff. Those aren't just guys I want to invest in.
You can't. Yeah, you can't. You know, and the thing is, too, you got to remember, it's a win-now league. Like, unfortunately, and this is why football, I love football so much, but the harsh thing of reality of football, and I mean, we do it on this show, is it's a week-to-week sport, man. It just is. Last week, we were talking about the Lions as a contender. A lot of people are selling all their Lions stock after one loss. You know, it's week to week.
Your Lions stock,
yeah,
please.
I'll take them. Yeah, I'll take all the Lions stock. Yeah, I'm doubling down. I'm taking the dip. I'm buying in on the dip. I'm buying on the dip.
I took a Bryce Young stock too early.
I'm buying on the dip right now.
Can I say this?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think that first of all, I can't take nothing random so serious because you're wearing baller colors. But I think I did.
First of all, we represent Third Street Saints over here. No, we don't mess with the ballers.
Ballers. I disagree with him and Carson on this. I think that you give Jordan Love at least 3 years because Aaron Rodgers literally crashed the car and then gave him the car keys. Like, now you do something with it. He basically tore that team apart. And then by the time
wait.
No.
Because I want to see where this goes. Let's finish before we do.
Speak accordingly when you speak on my quarterback.
I think Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell, they will always stopgap quarterbacks. No one is looking at them as you're my guy for the future unless they do something crazy where it's like, yo, you're going to stay. But Jordan Love gets a little bit more leniency because he's been there and he wasn't able to get the things that Aaron Rodgers had when he had the team. This is probably the worst Packers team they've had in a while. Can we admit to that, fellas?
Worse?
The worst Packers team?
I
just want to know how Aaron Rodgers crashed the car.
Adams.
Well,
That
it was his
defense ain't as good as it used to be.
Drama
That
queen.
As it used to be like, come on,
But
man.
how did
Let me answer that. A big one, a big moment. Devontae Adams
Aaron Rodgers crashed the car?
No, Devontae Adams took the money. Devontae Adams took the money with the Raiders because of Aaron Rodgers waffling on whether or not he was going to play or not, and he just didn't run away.
No.
Yes, that was literally a
Devontae
part of
Adams-
his decision.
One at a time. One at a time.
That was part of his
Adams
decision,
took the
G,
money.
baby.
Devontae Adams took the money with the Raiders because the Packers put him on the franchise tag when he specifically said, "Don't put me on the tag." And then they put him on the tag anyway.
I understand.
That's literally how that happened.
Aaron Rodgers, he legit. Devontae Adams said it himself that Aaron Rodgers waffling was a part of it. I'll find it and I'll show you. Give me a second. Let me find it.
He did say that. He did say that.
Do y'all not remember? He was like,
no,
"Don't
I'm
put
not
me on
saying the tag
franchise
wasn't part of it, G baby.
Yeah,
but Aaron Rodgers waffling on whether or not he's going to play or not was also a big part of his
Crashing
decision.
the whip.
Didn't Aaron Rodgers get a huge?
I just hold on, time
contract
out. The only thing I don't like is the crash in the whip. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is
crash the whip and then gave the keys,
I don't know about
man.
crashing the whip.
well,
I
they
don't know
didn't.
about that.
How did he crash the whip when they already
This how they crashed the whip.
hold on? They already had his second. They already had somebody in co-pilot ready to take over once he was done.
Because the money they was going, let's be real, they was going to keep Aaron Rodgers as long as they could. All the money that he obtained from the Packers could have went to if you was going to leave anyway, you could have just left earlier, and all that money that you obtained, we could have put on.
We're gonna let him get this off because we got to get to the next topic,
y'all.
y'all.
So many other places. You linger him for a couple years, and then you go off to the Jets, who got everything, and you leave Jordan Love with this team. He ain't got a star receiver. He doesn't have the defense.
He leaves Jordan Love with this team. It's his team to inherit.
Like he did crash the whip, man.
Yeah.
All right, he crashed.
We have to move on. So
Because it's nothing to really say about that. There's not really much to say about that. That's more of a. I feel you early. You know, everybody's entitled to an opinion. My question is this: Should the Bills be on upset watch again this week against the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football? Let me ask y'all this: if they lose this game against the Buccaneers, what does the conversation become about the Buffalo Bills? Go ahead, G baby. You set the tone.
I'm actually gonna take it a different route to set the tone.
Go for it.
In the words of Mr. Trent's brother Trey,
shout out to Trey.
Let's not scout the helmet and scout the team.
Mm-hmm.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a pretty solid team when you don't look at the past of who their starting quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good receiving core. Rashad White is solid. The O-line is healthy, and the defense is solid. So if they do beat the Bills on a short week after the after the Bucs just got out of a nail biter with the Falcons divisional game, you know, their sense of urgency's picked up. If they do beat the Bills, I wouldn't really be that shocking because most likely, let's be real, it's still Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to throw for a lot of yards, throw for a lot of touchdowns, and he's also going to make boneheaded mistakes.
Bruh. Gee.
He's also going to – no, all I'm saying is it wouldn't be crazy if the Bucs eke one out.
No.
Why would it be crazy?
That is a bad loss if they lose to the Bucs.
It's a bad loss.
They are leaps and bounds above the Bucs. We are not about to act like if the Bills.
No, he's right.
The quarterback is leaps and bounds.
No,
and that's about it, G baby.
The quarterback is leaps and bounds.
Let him go. Okay, go ahead, Trent. Go ahead, Trent.
What I'm saying is they're playing the Buccaneers. But playing the Buccaneers, bro. We all consider. Do we not consider a Bills basically every year, or just even now, still a contender to go to Super Bowl?
I don't. I personally.
I know you don't.
I don't.
General
consensus. They are a 12, bro. They are a 12, 13.
Another 49ers like team
almost every year. So if they lose to the Bucs, if they lose to Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, that's still a terrible loss.
Again, you scout in the helmet, or you scout. Honestly, it's only
No. One at a time. Let's not get lost in the argument.
I'm not trying to.
G baby, you violating with the interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
You think? So G, I'm asking you, so you can go because I'll be honest. I'm just asking you. Think that the Buccaneers are almost on or really on the same tier with the Bills?
It's not that I think they're on the same tier with the Bills. I feel when people look at these Bucs, they just assume because of the name of the starting quarterback on this team, they automatically assume that the Bucs are just some dog water team. If you look at how they play, if you look at how they played, they're not a bottom tier team. They're a solid mid tier team. And it's not like we haven't seen a history of the Bills losing to solid mid tier teams. So all my point is, it wouldn't be shocking.
Okay, now my last question to you, and I'll be super done.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints beat the Bills. Are you surprised?
No.
I'm done.
But he's a fan.
Why would I?
He's a fan.
Why would I be surprised?
He's a fan.
Because the only problem I honestly feel with the Saints is Trevor Penning and Pete Carmichael.
G,
Everybody else cool.
You got it. You let him have it. You let him have it. Let him have it.
How was that?
Yeah.
How was that shocking?
I think you're being a little. I think you're being a little disingenuous, but it's okay. I want to hear everybody else's opinions on it. A little bit. G, I love you to death. A little bit. Random.
I think we've seen that the Bills notoriously play down to their competition. That's where I'm worried about.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, they notoriously play on the competition, and you'd like to believe after letting Mac Jones legitimately maybe have his best game as a pro on that defense, that they would come out and exercise some demons against Tampa Bay. Is it at Tampa?
No, it's in Buffalo.
No, it's in Buffalo.
Oh, then they should. I'm not. Look, I've been high on Tampa Bay in terms of they're a good team. The defense is solid, but I agree with Trent. This would be a bad loss. This would be a bad loss for them. Especially we've already been seeing over the last few weeks that they've been playing bad. First of all, I know Trent, you're a Giants fan, but they should have been in that situation where they needed two holding calls to beat the Giants.
Word,
right?
Yeah,
they should have been. So they've been playing bad over the last few weeks. They have to showcase their strength and try to get back into the conversation of the best teams in AFC, especially with how the Ravens looked against the Lions last week. And you're just watching the Bills fall further and further down. Yeah, so they have to have a good showing this week. They have to, or else we might watch the Dolphins run away with that division.
Go ahead, Carson.
That's why I would be.
Well, I think, Random, you make a good point about them playing down to competition. At the same time, normally when things get really ugly, when they have an embarrassing loss like they just did to the Pats, it snaps them awake and they come back out the next week and they're the best version of themselves. Think about after the Jets week 1, they played 2 dominant football games against Washington and against the Raiders. So I think Tampa Bay is still too limited. They can't run the football. Baker the last couple weeks has taken a step back.
So bad at that.
Their offense is just very limited. The defense is good. They're an okay football team, but the Bills should definitely win at home. But as a Bills fan, I am worried about this team. I don't view them as a top tier AFC contender right now. I think it's Chiefs clearly 1. I think it's Ravens clearly 2. And then I think there's a gap and it's the Bills at 3. Right, and the biggest reason for that is, to me, the defensive regression that we've seen, because straight up they lost maybe their 2 best defensive players. Matt Milano's an all-pro level dude. He's one of the best coverage linebackers in football, and he's super active in the run game, flies all over the field. Trey White was playing like the lockdown corner that he is. Daquan Jones as an interior D lineman, I think a super underrated loss. He was really important to their run defense. He was balling. So, I mean, that's been an anchor of this Bills team. This also was their best pass rush altogether up to this point. A lot of the young guys have really grown into their own. And when you lose that dominant defense, you can only go so far. Like the Giants had a good offensive game against them, only 9 points, but they were moving the ball. They had over 300 yards for an offense that limited. That wasn't a good showing. And then the Pats, I mean, people focus in on Josh and the Bills offense so much. The Bills offense does have issues. I don't think Ken Dorsey's a great play caller. I still think at times they're inconsistent establishing the run. And I think out of Stephon Diggs, outside of him, their weapons group is really not all that impressive. To me, it doesn't fall on Josh, but everybody looks at them and say, all right, well, the offense has been slow starting recently. True. But if they scored 25 on the Patriots any week 1 through 6, they would have won that football game. If they scored 21, I mean, literally, the Pats had not put up 21 points on anybody. They put up 29 points. Their line, which has been awful, looked dominant against the Bills front. And Mac Jones, McCorkle, who has been awful all year, suddenly is moving the football downfield in a big spot. That's
I also have a quick question for the Bills fan. So I've always, Riddell said all the time, like it always feels like Josh Allen spams spams Diggs all the time. I like Gabriel Davis as a good number 2. I think he's a good number 2 receiver. real quick question. But okay, obviously you
leave Gabe Davis alone. 2020.
You feel different. So is there anything they can do can they bring somebody else in, even with their defense? Can they bring somebody else in for their defense? Obviously, losing Matt Milano may be the death nail for the Bills season.
That was rough.
But is there anything they can do, make any moves? obviously the Eagles are making moves. I expect the 49ers at some point to realize our corners are not that good. We should probably make a move. Is there anything the Bills can do maybe to try and see if they can maximize whatever they got left?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Would the Titans let him go?
Hey, that would be a pretty decent,
DeAndre had his chance and he chose the Titans, which is crazy.
No, he didn't have a chance.
No one else wanted
The Patriots were willing to give him money and he chose the Titans.
Hell no.
Yeah,
I mean, the Patriots is crazy, but I'm just saying he chose the Titans out of the options that he had.
I would look at receiver offensively, and it doesn't have to be a super splashy move. Just getting a more reliable number 2. The thing with Gabe is that he has this big playability. He's a real deep threat. He's super athletic. He's big, but as a down-to-down route runner, he's not super polished. His hands are very inconsistent. He's just not the kind of guy you can look to on a 3rd and 7 and say, okay, Gabe, get open for me. We need to rely on you. That's where it's so singularly about Diggs that it does become a problem for this offense. But defensively, I think the linebacking core has to improve, and I think that the number 2 corner spot is a concern. Kaiir Elam, who they spent a 1st-round pick on last year, just sucks, unfortunately. They can't even play him. So those are 3 groups overall.
Is he a Florida Gator? Is he a Florida Gator?
Yes. Yeah, he is.
Of course he is.
Yeah, not a good one.
Random Florida stray.
Yeah, that's a crazy. Come on, bro.
Leave Florida alone, J.
So this is now turned into a 2-parter based on what I just heard. So, Carson, right? I apologize.
Yeah.
What's going on, Carson? Do you agree with Random when he said he felt like the Bills played down to their competition a little too often?
I do, yeah. I mean, I think that they have a few losses over the last couple of years that are just like inexplicable. They just didn't bring it.
The
Fair
one
enough.
That comes up the point is the Jaguars won against your Jags when they just looked horrible that day.
Your Jag. Your Jag.
They looked horrible that day. The first
where they
time
put up
Josh
6
Allen has ever
points?
played a Josh Allen.
Oh, you talking about last year? You're not even talking about this year. You talking about last year?
Yeah, they were. It was like it made no
horrible.
sense that they lost that game. It made no sense at all.
So then, and this is me being
the second part. Okay.
J-Rob, Trent, I want to know how I was being disingenuous when I literally said the same thing.
All right, so I'm gonna tell you why you're being disingenuous.
I'm just kind of slick with it.
I'm gonna tell you why. I understand what Trey says, and I understand your point. You like the Buccaneers defense. You like the receiving weapons. Baker Mayfield's played decent up to this point. I do think the Buccaneers need to learn how to run the football more because I think that's one of their issues, trying to have Baker Mayfield throw it like Tom Brady 40 times. That's not who he is. But the reason why I say this is a bad loss for Josh Allen and the Bills is because, one, they're coming off 2 back-to-back, I'm pretty sure, right? They lost in London.
2 of the last 3.
2 of the last 3. They lost in London.
Then they won against the Giants, and they lost to the Patriots.
Then the obvious, I forgot the holding call that never got called. I think if that was 87 in the Chiefs jersey, we'd be having a whole different conversation. I think that might have been one of the biggest blown calls of the year. So that they easily could have been 3 L's for the Bills going into this game. The Bills, one, the reason why this is a must win for me is that they just need a W in the W column in October. That's one. 2, the Buccaneers don't have title hopes. They don't have a ceiling that leads them to go into a Super Bowl. The Buffalo Bills, regardless of what we say, how they look from a schematic standpoint, they need help at the linebacker position. They need a cornerback too. They also need another receiver. I think we can all acknowledge that they need those pieces. But I think we also have to acknowledge that in their locker room, their goal is still AFC Championship Super Bowl. It isn't just to get as far as we need to get to. So they need to figure out a way to – and look, we always say this. All these NFL teams have some level of weakness. You either address that weakness or figure out a way to overcome it. I said the Eagles needed a safety. Y'all preached it from game 1. They went and got Kenny Byer. They went and addressed an issue that they had. And so I think that matters. McCole Hardman and going to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, what was one of their issues? They probably just needed another reliable receiver. Because they obviously were doing the whole by committee group.
Somebody that vibes with Mahomes,
Yeah, like I think Kadarius Toney role is about to decrease over the next few weeks. I think you'll see McCole Hardman's role increase. Rasheed Rice's role is increasing. So I feel like I understand schematically it could be a matchup problem for the Bills. However, the Bills have championship aspirations this season. And because of that, there's got to be an expectation to go out there and beat this Buccaneers team. Don't let Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans go in there and have a a great game because ironically enough, if Baker Mayfield and the Bucs go ahead and win this game, I think that's a momentum builder for the Buccaneers for them going into their year. I think for the two teams involved in this game, I think the implications could have can lead to great momentum for either team personally.
And I agree that it is a bad loss. My only point was I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked
either.
Neither would I.
Here's what I will say though. It's like I mentioned earlier. When they have a bad loss, when they play down, usually it snaps them away. They don't lose to bad teams twice in a row. They lose to a bad team, then it's, oh my God, the Bills are running through everybody for 3 weeks. Then it's, all right, it happened again, right? They lost focus. They came out flat. So I would be very surprised, very disappointed. That would be like the biggest alarm bell of this year.
Carson, why do you think they can't stay consistent like that then? Yeah, why do you think they can't stay consistent? Carson?
I think it's just a mental engagement thing, generally at this point. And I think that Josh, to me, gets too much criticism for the mistakes. I do think it's a reality with him. I think it can be overstated, though. No, it's real. But here's what I'll say.
It's real.
Nah, let him cook. Let him cook.
It is
real.
Hey,
he's been cooking on the ribs this whole time.
J-Rob,
I like
J-Rob.
No, but Carson, come on. It's real, though. I'm a Jets fan. I watched as many Bills games.
Carson.
It's real. But J-Rob, who is the only man who has led 3 straight top 2 offenses in football in the last years? Who is the man who has led the last year?
I agree.
He is great. He has a great,
and he does that he does that without a good line. He does that without a good running game. He does that without a deep receiving core. So I'm with you. He needs to cut down on the mistakes this year. There's just been a couple. I mean, first offensive snap from scrimmage this game, he throws a terrible pick. Like he needs to cut down on that. My point is, I think his ability to elevate the offense so dramatically, extending plays in a way nobody else can, making throws nobody else can, what he can do with his legs, the fact that most of the time he is a good decision maker. He can be that cerebral general. To me, that's why I would only take Mahomes over him out of all the quarterbacks. So, but there is every 5 weeks or whatever, he will slip into it. And I think that's one of the reasons they can be inconsistent too.
I agree. Hold on. Let me just add this point because I just want to just speak to what he just said. I want you to know, Carson, I've come on this platform and I've said, because I've been, and obviously I'm a Jets fan, so you obviously understand there's a bit of bitterness there in terms of our teams. You know, we definitely have been about a bit. So I've gotten to see Josh Allen's development from rookie year. And we had Sam Darnold, and your guy flourished, and my guy, I don't know what he's doing right now, but G's chilling. He's watching Brock Purdy. Yeah, he's backing up Brock Purdy. Yeah. But my thing is more so, I've said Josh Allen, and I've been critical of him. I said even though I've had my critiques of him, he's overcome having a bad rush defense, no real established run game. I think last year there was all those issues and injuries in the secondary. So I give him a lot of credit for overcoming the team's weaknesses. And that's why I say the greatest quarterbacks are the guys who overcome their team's weaknesses and their ability to lead them with. So I stand on that. That's why I really only look at him, Joe, Pat, and Lamar as guys who can break a game right now because of what they're just physically able to do on the football field. However, I just feel like because of him having that game-breaking ability, sometimes he gets lost in it. And what I mean by that is, I think because of and I look back at the Chiefs game, he absolutely balled out of control. Sometimes I wish his offensive coordinator was Bruce Arians, because I think in a Bruce Arians offense because he has a risk it no biscuit personality sometimes, because he believes in that right arm more than any quarterback in the league not named Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna put it all the way out there with his faith in his right arm. And I agree. I think it sometimes gets him caught up at times, but I don't know. I'm also kind of looking at McDermott because I'm not really liking some of y'all play calling at times. I think that could be a bit better. And so look, I see the good and the bad, but I do think this game is important for the Bills just in terms of them getting back on track to where they want to be. Go ahead, Riddell. My bad.
I want to say 2 things real quick. First thing is, for me, I'm not a big Josh Allen guy. I thought the entire discussion last year with Josh Allen being over Mahomes was disgusting. I almost wanted to throw up, to be honest.
That should never happen. Nobody should ever be put over Mahomes.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's interesting because I do think Gabe Davis is not like the best number 2 or anything. But at the same time, I think the Bills do have weapons. And it's kind of funny how Zach Moss is going crazy on the Colts right now, and y'all got rid of him. And James Cook in the run game is doing pretty good this year. I do feel like sometimes like there are easy kind of throws Josh Allen can make, especially check down, because I do think you guys have check down guys, and I think Kincaid is pretty good. I think Dawson Knox is good enough for a tight end. I don't think he's crazy, but I think he's good enough. And sometimes he's like, you know what, I'm gonna go for the big play instead. I be seeing people wide open for the check down. He's like, he just doesn't throw it to him. He doesn't throw it to him.
He loves the home run, but I also
does.
think, again, it's not that that's totally unfair. I just think it's overstated. Like, go watch the game that he played against the Raiders. That was a masterclass of taking what the defense is giving you.
Agreed.
You're giving us 2 high safety looks. You're just saying, take the check down, take the check down. He can do that all day. So there are times where you got to snap him out of it. You got to knock him on the helmet and say, Josh, buddy, calm down. Like, you don't have to be superhero. We don't have to get it all in one play.
Right.
But he absolutely has that mode where you look at him and you're like, this isn't just one of the great arm talents, physical talents. This is one of the great minds. Like, this is a all-around great quarterback. So,
and to be fair,
it's just not on Josh to me.
To be fair to Josh Allen, because I have, like I said, the Stephon Diggs stuff, I said the check down stuff. I also said that Josh Allen, because we were talking about Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, the difference is when the game is on the line, I trust Josh Allen. I trust him.
Me too.
I trust him to do what he has to do to win the game. Now, with that said, in terms of the conversation at hand, the whole thing with like the Bills and the Buccaneers, it would be one thing if this was like a trap game. It was like, oh, we're feeling overconfident and we lost the game. We've seen plenty of that. Cowboys, Cardinals, perfect example. Even Patriots, Bills, perfect example. When you what are they 4-3? This is not a trap game. I don't care who you play. You better win the next game.
You gotta win this one. Yeah.
Because let's recognize with the AFC right now, they can miss the playoffs if they keep on losing games. Like, the AFC is very close right now. Like, other than the Chiefs right now, who's getting like a bigger and bigger lead, the AFC, the Dolphins, the division the division title is going to be hard with the Dolphins if they keep winning and the Bills keep losing. So this is not a game that the Bills can go like, okay, maybe we could take a little. No, this is a game. I don't care who you're facing. You gotta win this game. This is a must-win.
This is a must-win for the Bills.
Hey, also,
in proper playoff contention.
Hey, also, side note: Brock Purdy's in concussion protocol.
Yeah, we know.
I just want y'all to know right now, Carson. I just want you to know right now, because you're gonna have to talk about this on Nerd Sesh. The moment Sam Darnold goes out there and balls out of control, you're gonna have to address. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna have to address the masses and talk to them about how let's not lose our minds about Sam Darnold, because he's gonna go over there and who. There's gonna be a big deal.
He's playing the Bengals,
and you know what I'm
playing the Bengals too,
and they're playing the Bengals.
And J-Rob, you know what I'm gonna say when Sam Darnold ball out?
What?
Dang, they did all this, and Trey Lance still couldn't get his job on that team.
That's another thing I wanted to say, G baby. Trey Lance couldn't even beat out Sam Darnold, and I know the 49ers wanted him to get that second spot.
Yo, but I think Trey Lance has some of the worst luck of any first-round quarterback ever.
That's just how it rolls sometimes.
No, it happens.
He should have never been picked. It should have been
He wasn't that good. He wasn't that good.
Before we close the show, we got one more time. We'll go ahead early. Go ahead.
So I want to get my take on the Bills. I definitely believe that Baker can beat them. Only simply just because that offense is. Carson said it the best. Honestly, y'all have lost so many weapons on defense, and that's one of the reasons why I'm out on the Bills, like a father who went to get cigarettes and never came back. And my biggest thing is that when it comes to the Buccaneers, I think they have the offensive weapons to actually put Josh Allen in a toe for toe. The weather might be the thing that might be it might be the variable that.
Nah, it ain't cold up here right now. Nah, it's not cold up here right now.
Okay, well then, but I do believe that as good as Josh Allen is, you got to give him the blame because y'all throw the ball to the guy 40, 50 times a game. So when you're the one who had the ball in your hand most of the time, when y'all do lose, we got to give you the blame because you're the one who's basically determining whether you guys win or not when it comes to the amount of times he throws. I've seen games where you guys have the running game going, but it's like, nah, we can't win if Josh Allen ain't put up 300 yards. So I do.
That's play calling, though.
Yeah, that's McDermott. That's McDermott and company.
But here's the thing: but play calling or not, if Josh Allen's been on a team long enough that if the running game is going, you should be able to make a decision to say, "Hey, coach, I'm gonna go with this running game because it's going. Why keep throwing the ball when the running game is actually working?" I do believe that again, the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield is the right quarterback, and if he gets hot and Mike Evans gets going, it could be a problem for y'all. And if it becomes a shootout, I don't trust y'all defense the same way y'all didn't show up for Mac Jones.
No, it'll be close. I'm definitely curious to see. I do think it's a must win for the Bills, though. 100%. I think Shona hit it on the nose. They got to go out there and win. But my final question before we go, I didn't put this on the doc, but I thought this was really important to talk about, and it slipped my mind. Is AJ Brown a top 3 receiver in the league at this point? Right now, where we stand.
Top 3.
Go ahead. I want to have a conversation. No. I want to have the conversation. I want to have a
conversation over.
As somebody who has pushed that AJ Brown deserves top 5 consideration last year, he's parlaying it with this season that he's having right now. If you look at the numbers, he's out of his mind. Does AJ Brown have an argument for top 3 receiver in football right now?
And he's number 3 because I think you're taking Hill and Jettas over him, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you're saying he's number 3
and Devontae and
Devontae.
Not right now.
If we're talking about current,
but I think he's saying right now because of the Devontae situation.
You know how high of a Devontae Adams fan I am. I'm talking about right now, currently.
So then you should know that Devontae right now.
Hold on, G baby. You thrusted Cooper Kupp to top 3 in the league off of how he was doing in one season. I'm doing the same thing, and I can't get an argument.
Well, he did have 1,900 yards and 16 touchdowns.
I didn't put him over top 3.
But I mean, it was one of the greatest receivers you've ever seen.
I said I had
legitimately led to a race.
I said the lowest I would put him is 5 because I understood people who put Stephon and Tyreek still over.
Can I be honest? AJ Brown. All right, I'll say where I stand on this so people could gauge why I brought this up. I believe AJ Brown, and Carson, you can follow up first. I believe AJ Brown is the new generation version of Terrell Owens.
Oh my God, no.
It's a comparison. He's not saying.
And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm not saying he's Terrell Owens.
Comparison.
I'm not saying he's Terrell Owens, but if you look at the two of them and the way they were as football players, big, physical, run after the catch, can beat you on the deep ball, literally can take a hitch route, break 2 tackles, not because of how fast they are, not because they outran you, because you can't get them to the ground.
outran you though.
Can AJ Brown not outrun you either?
He also had a problem with
all I'm saying is I'm not saying he is Terrell
Smith
Owens.
Can get DK the ball. That's T.O.
All I'm saying is he's not Terrell Owens. He's AJ Brown. I'm saying I see a lot of comparisons in their game. I think AJ Brown is one of the most physically gifted receivers in football, and I think if you see the dominance he has displayed over these last 6 weeks, it's not by accident. This is who he's been since last year. There's a reason why he broke T.O.'s single season record for yards in a season. There's a reason why this year he is parlaying that again with another season the way he is. And I just feel like we always talk about Chase and Diggs and Jettas and Hill and Devontae as they all deserve to have those as they all deserve that grace. But I think AJ Brown has made a hell of a case to at least enter that top 3, top 5 discussion, and so I just would love to hear your thoughts on him.
Who's in that discussion? Who's in that discussion? If we're taking Hill and Jettas out,
Devontae Adams, Chase, Hill, and Jettas.
No, Jettas and Hill. I think they're number 1 and number 2.
Yeah,
Hill number 1, Jettas is number 2. That's just how I feel about it. So we're talking what? So you're saying J-Rob, you think he's better than Diggs, Devontae, and Chase?
I think right now he's better than Diggs, Chase, and Devontae. I think the only 2 who are better than him at this very moment are. I would take Jettas and I would take Tyreek Hill over him right now.
We're leaving out, right?
It's got to be because of production, right?
What makes
I think it's the production. I think it's the production for me and the physical traits. I think when I put those 2 things together, I think AJ Brown is an absolute is. I think he's free. I think he's a. Matthew. I think AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown's physically. I think he's a freak show.
Devontae
look good.
Devontae to me. Is still the best receiver in the league.
I know. I agree. I think when having a quarterback, when he has a quarterback, he's number 1. I think when Devontae has a quarterback who getting the football, he's number 1. But I'm speaking just on today, just today only, as the league is standing as week 8 of the 2023-2024 season. I feel like you got to look at AJ Brown in some way as a top 3. Devontae Adams was playing. I would tell you right now, G baby, Devontae Adams was playing for the New York Jets. Oh, let me not say the Jets because Aaron Rodgers isn't here. If he was playing with,
put him on the Eagles. How do you think Devontae does, J-Rob?
What? Well, I think the production will be split. But let's say he played for. I want to say, I'm trying to think of a good team with a decent. Hey, he played for the Houston Texans. I think his production would be through the roof. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Houston, y'all should make that a reality. I'm not gonna lie, Houston. Call the Raiders, see if you can make that happen.
Don't do that.
So
Don't do that.
I
Don't
do.
that.
What makes this conversation
If he
so
played for Patrick
interesting?
Mahomes,
I just think
don't do
personally
that.
it's a conversation. I think
They're
it's
not
worth
trading
the
him in division.
conversation.
Early.
J-Rob,
They're not trading
what
him in
makes this
division.
conversation so
They're not.
interesting is
I know,
because
I'm just
I
saying.
have a back and forth debate with Trent consistently when it comes to AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs. Because I've always said they're on the same tier. I see what Stephon Diggs can do. AJ Brown could do other things,
Shout out
but
to Stephon.
what he does is also elite. And I think overall, I would put them on the same tier. So the conversation when it comes down to receivers, from what I've seen constantly, is like, what are you able to do? And it really comes down to catching the ball, route running, and obviously run after catch, yak, right? So when it comes down to it, and I know you're talking a lot about production as of right now, I do think it comes down to what you value. In terms of what you value from AJ Brown and what he provides, he came back.
Yeah, he's
In terms
mad.
of what
He's
you
upset.
value, what he
He's upset.
provides.
He's upset.
I had
He's
to. I
upset.
had to go do.
What
some-
does
I had to
AJ
go do
Brown provide from what
Bro.
I've talked about that puts him in this top 3 conversation?
Bro, I had
I
to
think
do
he
some-
provides. I think for me, in terms of what he provides, I think in terms of being a deep threat, he provides being able to get the ball downfield. I think what Carson talked about earlier on 3rd and 7, can you go to this guy consistently? You sure can. If you need a guy
You
to
sure about
sometimes,
that?
I'm sure about
AJ
it. I'm
Brown-
sure about
Okay,
it.
first
Okay,
of all,
I'm sure about it.
Carson,
I'm sure
educate
about
this
it.
man,
Hold on, let me
please.
finish. Let me finish. He asked me about the traits. I think when you look for the God-givens, and what I mean by that is just the things you can't coach. Size, speed, strength. He has those things as well. He has all the God-given. And then the yak, man. The yak is what I love the most. You can't just bring he's not a guy that's going down on the arm tackle. He's not. He's not going to be that guy. He's
big.
huge. He's huge.
Strong.
He's
Got
one of
that
those guys. And so all I'm saying, and again,
But he's slow.
I personally think he's top 3. Everybody don't have to think he's top 3. I just feel like he deserves consideration into the conversation because he's put together a hell of a last 2 years. And he put together, and this thing didn't start with the Eagles. It started with the Titans. He put together a hell of a season with the Titans,
Bro.
and he's just done it back to back. So he's also had the
2,000-yard
consistency.
season.
Jay, wait, come on, bro. Hold on. If he was top 3
he
now,
was balling with the Titans early.
if he was top 3
wasn't
now,
balling
wait,
anything. He
bro.
was
If he was
1,000-yard
top,
seasons.
if he was top 3 now, he should have been top 3 last year because ain't nothing changing his game.
I said he was
you.
top 5. I said he was top 5 last year. I said he was questionably top
Here's
5.
the fact.
You remember? I brought that into
wait, hold on,
consideration
real quick,
last
just
year.
to make sure. Were you trolling saying he's better than Devontae Adams, or are you saying he's playing better than him right now?
No, I'm saying he's playing better than right now. I said if Devontae Adams was on, if Devontae Adams had C.J. Stroud right now at quarterback, I think we still have a conversation that he'd be number 1. But I think because of
So this is more of a who's playing better right now.
If
this
it's
is more of
that's
like
what he's
what's
saying.
going.
That's what
I
he's
said
saying
right
right
now.
now.
Yeah, I said right now as of the 2023-2024 season. I think
if you-
AJ
yeah,
Brown
for
needs
sure.
to
I can live with that thing.
I can live with that.
But that's what I said though. But that's what I said.
When
though.
you said
once we start talking
entering the
about-
conversation,
Once we start talking about in general, especially to me, I don't think for sure.
Well, I think at the end of the year, I think by when the season's over, he'll be able to have some more stake in that because he's going to put up another very productive year.
and I think you can
Here's the
argue
fact,
top
though.
5, but to me,
You can maybe argue top 5, but
like to me,
yeah, top 5.
even at the end of the season, I still think Devontae Adams, at the very least, is going to be top 5.
I understand. No, I understand.
Here's the fact.
Devontae is Devontae. I
Here's
get
the
it.
fact,
I get
though.
you there.
Devontae depends too much on his athleticism for me. 2, he did
Devontae Adams?
Devontae or AJ?
That's fine. I'm going to say
AJ.
AJ Brown.
I was about to say, bro.
AJ did beat TOs by 300 yards, but he only played 14 games that season versus 17 games. So that's 1. 2, I believe that
Sassy
150
takes.
targets and catching 85 balls
Mr.
is
Sassy
not
take,
good enough
bro.
for me. You're almost getting twice your targets. They catch half the balls.
What are you talking about?
I'm
Wait,
talking
what
about
did you
AJ
say?
Brown. Talking about AJ Brown.
No, can you repeat it? Because I didn't hear it.
Repeat that. What you just said.
Repeat what you
AJ
said.
Brown, I would say that 1, he depends on his athleticism too much. I say he did beat T.O.'s record, but T.O. only played 14 games that season and versus 17 games. And also, I said AJ Brown gets high targets but low catches.
See, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Also, you got to mention Jalen Hurts being out to finish the season
We're talking about
early. You got to mention that also. Hurts was out.
You got to get more
last year.
The top of the top, as far as receivers, they have it all. They have the catches, they have the yards, and
He
have
has
the touchdowns.
every single
He
thing.
has all of those.
But real quick, only thing I do want to add to that, though, in fairness to AJ Brown,
He has
which
all
is
of
why I
that.
kind of don't like that. He's also, I won't call him a deep threat, but he definitely has a
No,
couple
he
of
is.
those
Come
balls.
on.
No, he
No,
is.
he's
Good
a
amount
deep
of
threat.
those. A
No,
good
he's
enough.
a deep
No,
threat.
but I know when you
Come
say
on,
deep.
bro.
No, listen. My point is because I don't
He's
want
a
us to
deep
get
threat.
lost.
Don't they
I
have
don't
the
want us to
most
get lost on the deep
over
threat part of
25
it.
yards or something like that?
No, but I'm saying
I'm not taking AJ Brown over Jamar
he gets
Chase.
no, but he gets
That's
I'm not
targeted.
either. I'm not either.
okay.
My
That's
overall
okay,
point
though.
is though
Hey,
he gets
Carson,
targeted.
what were you gonna say?
He gets targeted on deep routes enough to where some of them catches are because they threw it out of bounds and he was the nearest.
Yeah,
receiver
right.
That he was double covered and he
I
just
said that.
threw it out the back of the end
I
zone.
mean,
honest with you. I'm gonna be dead ass.
that's
honest.
He gets
basically-
targeted enough down the
go
field
ahead.
to where.
Go ahead,
Carson.
Carson.
Well, that's just what I was going to say to what Early's saying. When you talk about like his success rate on targets, he catches 60% of his targets or whatever. Some of the elite possession guys, Diggs, Devontae, are up more towards 70. That's just because they're in different archetypes. AJ is more of that explosive athletic threat. He's the most physical receiver in football. He is up there for the best deep threat in football. So it's a different thing. Like Diggs, Devontae, those are crazy technical route runners. And yeah, those guys are better at AJ than that. AJ's still good at that. AJ has a physical advantage that might offset that. I think all those dudes are in the same tier. To me, Tyreek and Jettis are in a different tier. I think the production, the skill set, those guys are just unbelievable. But then after that, it is a loaded next handful of dudes.
Right there.
Jamar's in that next tier.
He's not in the same tier as Jettis and Hill, man.
I don't think he is.
I will never in my life not understand how Tyreek and Jettis are in a different tier and Tay Adams is not with them.
No, Tay Adams is with them. I think.
I think the situation, Trent, his situation is what we're worried about.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about the situation right now for Devontae.
That doesn't mean
hold on. Even in his situation, he's still playing good right now. In his situation last year with Derek Carr playing like he still was balling and wilding out. So I'm saying ain't nothing really changed with Tay Adams to where he's not gonna be in the same tier.
I'm not mad at that either.
Worse than Derek Carr. He went to somebody worse than Derek Carr. That's what happened.
That's
not what he signed up for.
Say a guy is a top receiver, that means he can do it anywhere. He can do it at your mama house, your aunt's
and he
house,
is doing it.
house. He cooking anywhere. Devontae Adams is.
Did y'all not watch that? Did y'all not watch that? So what happened in that Raiders game? So what happened when the Raiders played the Packers?
He said Devontae Adams.
No, Jimmy G was missing mad throws. I can't get it.
But they were feeding him in the first half, then they just stopped.
All I'm saying is he's acting like AJ Brown wasn't getting it done with Ryan Tannehill.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that, but all I'm saying
he's making a mute point.
No, J-Rob.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was early. Yes, he was.
One at a time. Stop yelling. Stop yelling. One at a time.
We're not saying like, oh, AJ Brown wasn't doing it. But Tay Adams, the reason why we bring up Tay Adams is specifically to argue when people say he's not in that top tier of receivers.
Fellas, he is in that top tier. I'm cool with that. I'm not debating that.
Well, yeah, but that's what we was correcting. You're like,
I'm just trying to say AJ Brown should be able to have a
top five
seat at the table. Yeah, I think he should have a seat at the table.
Okay, so hold on.
No, I'm not mad at it.
I'm asking you this, J-Rob.
And Trent, I've been telling you, I told you since last season that I thought AJ and Jamar were closer than people were really willing to give them credit for. And I think he's just following up this year to prove my point. And I just think he deserves. I think there's about 6 to 7 guys in the league who are in the top 5 conversation. And I think AJ Brown should just deserves to sit at the table.
Oh yeah, if you want to say that, cool. Because to me, honestly,
early. The only year AJ didn't have a 1,000-yard season with the Titans was his last season.
Yeah,
and he was hurt.
He played good on the Titans. Let's move on from that. All I'm saying is that AJ Brown has been the exact same receiver since his last year in Tennessee. So I don't know what kind of change for him to be in the top 3 conversation. Now, I get he had a 1,400-yard year, but him as a wide receiver, nothing changed with him.
But I think he's
what change? What change? You would call Jamar Chase. What does look different for What does look different from Jamar Chase in his rookie year? What was the big significant difference between
the same spot I had him sitting out? I don't have it. I never had him with him.
So then, what's the problem? If I'm saying that I both think they're in the same round, then what's the?
I mean, okay. Now my question to you is: if you had them in the same tier since like 2021. That's not the issue.
No, I said since last year. I said so. It's 2022. Last year. I said so last year.
You don't think that Jamar Chase and AJ Brown were in the same conversation in 2021?
That was last year. The moment we had that conversation was last year, though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. My point is, all I'm saying is, if because I know, like, everybody says AJ Brown has been the same guy, the exact same guy since in Tennessee. And to me, what I heard, nobody had these conversations with Diggs. Nobody had these conversations.
I think he's a way more polished deep threat now than he was in Tennessee.
I disagree on that, but. That's just what we usually agree disagree.
I mean, he's been a better deep threat in Philadelphia than he's been in
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, because he's been
in
getting better
Tennessee.
deep ball. That's about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
but like at the
That's a
same
little
time,
disingenuous.
And that
but I
play,
get your
okay,
point.
no, it's
I
not
get your
disingenuous
point. I
because
get
it's
your
not
point.
disingenuous because in that play action heavy offense, he got a lot of deep throws in Tennessee. The problem is Ryan Tannehill is a duck, and ultimately
sure.
that's the facts.
Yeah,
But
right.
ultimately, he was still a deep threat in Tennessee. I think he's been better at it now compared to what he was back then. So it's not like he
So what is
wasn't
Derek
still getting
Carr?
these shots.
The reason why I don't like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Trent, and I do think it has value sometimes. But
Make this the
I do
last
think
point because we
there's
got
something to
the
be
2 hour
said.
mark.
I do think there's something to be said. Like once your production and once your opportunity goes up, can you handle that opportunity and production as it goes up? I mean, I think the perfect example is Juju Smith-Schuster. The moment he got that production and that opportunity, we saw who he really was at the end of the day. So that's my thing.
He was Antonio Brown merchant.
Yeah, like that's come on,
No. But my thing, I
He
feel like
could not
that,
take that
because I see
Yeah.
like your skills are your skills, but we have to see those skills manifest when you get
I
that
agree.
opportunity.
I don't ever
Yeah, I
remember
agree.
Juju ever viewed in these top 5, top 10.
Oh,
I mean, I know.
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe
saying
what would his highest rank ever be?
But people thought he was better than he was.
I agree. Yeah, but that's because he had
Antonio
Antonio Brown. He's a great number 2 receiver.
He's
But
never going to make the
we-
Hall of
we
Fame.
hit our-
I
Go
believe
ahead,
that. I
Early.
love AJ Brown, but he isn't even the best pure receiver on his team.
Let's just end this.
All right. On that note,
I will say though, before we head out, Smitty is close to the AJ Brown, which I think. But that's
I'm no problem
Yeah,
with
but
that.
you're a
But
receiver.
Oh, before
I
we
don't
end
know,
the show,
man.
C3JJ, where have
ridiculous.
you been?
That's
You were
ridiculous.
sending super chats
Trent
all year.
be the first one to tell me
Panthers
about
went
drops.
0-6.
Devontae getting drops. You know what? I'm not good.
come on, bro. He just
No, I'm good. We don't got to go back and
AJ Brown
forth.
dropped the ball out there, bro.
I think that comment was
AJ
comment was made to slight AJ Brown, bro. That comment was made to slight AJ Brown.
yeah,
That
Carson,
is
I
true.
can't wait to see
100%.
what y'all say about Deshaun Watson. I got so many questions.
C3JJ, where
So
are
many
you?
questions.
I didn't see you.
Hey,
say
free.
that
Hey,
your team
and
was
one other,
0-6.
hey, I just want to say I appreciate y'all boys as always for coming on. Carson, hell of a debut on this show. Thank you for pulling up.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. This was really
One
fun.
other thing. And one other thing. Mickey, where are you, Mickey?
We've been looking for him for 4 weeks.
Listen, Meek,
bro.
you can't run off on the money. You've been running off on early. We gotta stand on business, bro. You're not standing on business. You owe me, you owe Mookie. I mean, you owe Early $100. You made the bet. You haven't shown up in 3 weeks. It's crazy, Meek. We looking for you. Make sure y'all go follow that man Trent on YouTube as well. Peace.
Go live.